PCT. Oh, they are.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Pacifica. It is Monday, May 12th, 2025. Could we have a roll call, please? City Clerk Coffey.
Councilmember Wright.
Present.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Here.
Councilmember Beer.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Here.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Present. I will read the land acknowledgement. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. And we'll have a salute to the flag led by Councilmember Wright. Well, tonight we have a few special presentations. The first one is the Preservation Award for 2025 by the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee. And this year they have honored Peter Loeb.
Don't move or touch screen, so I'll just stand over here. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Council. My name is Ellen Natason, and I'm here with the Open Space and Parklands Advisory Committee. And hello, everyone. Thank you for the representatives of our community who could join us today. And a particular shout out to our awards committee of one, Joanne. Thank you. So as you guys know, as people who live in Pacifica, our open spaces are a huge part of who we are and our identity and what makes Pacifica great. And open space is a critical thing for human well-being, both physical and mental well-being, and that's sort of intuitive to a lot of us, but it's also supported by a lot of science. But having open space in our community is not something that just happened. It's not luck. It's a lot of hard work for a lot of individuals that really dedicated a huge amount of their lives to making this happen for us. And so this award that we give annually is to recognize among the many people who did so much for Pacifica to secure and protect open space in our community, we pick the most outstanding. And so this award is actually a really major honor because Pacifica has so many amazing contributors in this area. So this year's winner is no exception, another really amazing person. So I'll read the proclamation now. Whereas Peter Loeb is a leader in our community who has made significant contributions to the successful protection of new open space lands in Pacifica. And whereas Peter Loeb was the founding member and co-chair of Friends of Pacifica, which was formed in part in response to a proposal to develop Maury Point, and played a key role in preserving Maury Point as open space. And whereas Peter Loeb was one of many people who contributed funds to allow the Trust for Public Land to buy Maury Point, which ultimately became part of Golden Gate National Recreation Area, GGNRA. Excuse me. Whereas Peter Loeb has tirelessly dedicated decades of time and energy to public service as a member of Pacifica's Zoning Ordinance Review Committee, as a member of Pacifica's Open Space Task Force, during which time the 2-volume Open Space Task Force report was completed, and as a member of Pacifica City Council. And whereas Peter Loeb was elected to City Council on an environmental platform, and during his two-term tenure, the growth control ordinance was adopted. An ordinance to require a public vote to develop housing in the Pacifica Quarry was also adopted. Sweeney Ridge was formally incorporated into the GGNRA. Cattle Hill was acquired for preservation with the intent that it would later become incorporated into the GGNRA. Peter Loeb was an important voice for Pacifica in discussions of a highway bypass that would have had significant impacts on open space in Pacifica, but was never constructed due to lack of public support. And Peter Loeb was an early supporter of the Devil Slide Tunnel, which was constructed, resulting in a much safer vehicular route south of Pacifica, as well as creation of the popular San Mateo County Devil Slide Trail. And whereas Peter Loeb was a founding member of Pacificans for Sustainable Development, and whereas Peter Loeb's continued advocacy has allowed the permanent preservation of the open space that makes Pacifica what it is today. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that we, the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee of the City of Pacifica, do hereby declare Peter Loeb to be the recipient of the 2025 Pacifica Open Space Preservation Award, this 12th day of May, 2025.
Thank you. Can I say a few words? I have a long list.
Take all the time you need. The clock is not running.
Thank you for this award, for this recognition. Thank you to OSPAC, Open Space and Parklands Advisory Committee, and to the City Council. This gives me an opportunity to recognize a whole bunch of other people. So I brought my list. And I moved to West Rockaway 50 years ago, 1975. And when I moved there, I met several people. One of them was Ruth Page, who was an organization called Keep Pacifica Scenic. And Janice and Joe Fulford and Howard Edminster, who were United Citizens of Pacifica. All these people have passed. Pacificans United to Save Our Hills, PUSH, which was Ferd Simons, who has passed. Ken Miles, who's still thankfully here. Concerned Manor residents, Noel Blinko. I'm mentioning all these people because they are all part of preserving open space in Pacifica. The Friends of Pacifica was mentioned. What started that group was 280 condos on Maury Point, which is now in the National Park Service, instead of 280 condos. The Open Space Task Force report, I co-chaired that, well, first with Jeanette Warden on the City Council, and then Chuck Curry. Both of them have passed. Also, John Curtis was on that committee. He's passed. Shirley Dry has passed. Ferd Simons, I mentioned. Bill Michaelis, Dana Denman, Margaret Goodale, Julie Lancel, Clark Natwick, Roy Makel. I actually have the front page of that task force report, so I'm reading names off of there. I won't go on too long, but I need to do this. Milagro Ridge was Pete DeJarnett, Noel Blinko, now passed, and Leo Leon. Committee to Save the Fish and Bowl was John Curtis and Victor Carmichael, who is here. Pacificans for Sustainable Development was mentioned. Pacificans for Maury Point, Michael Rothenberg, who has passed. Julie Lancel, Andrew Leone, and Nancy Hall, who are here. Hal Bonner, Mike Vasey, Pete and Gail Shoemaker. The Pacifica Land Trust, past board members were Mike Vasey and Skid Hall and Bernie Halloran. Julie Lancel again, Celeste Langeal, John Keener. Currently, Sam Casillas, Dinah Verby, Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree, by the way, was the planning director who's on this front page of the original Open Space Task Force report. Community Organization of Watchdogs, my favorite community group name, COW. Thanks to Dinah Verby, who can't be here. Pacifica's Environmental Family, which is Ann Edminster, Marge Davis, who is here, Cindy Abbott, who is here, Margaret Goodale, Roy Ernest, Jim Kremer. And more recently, Coalition of Pacificans for an Updated Plan, which is, along with Summer Lee, we created that. Summer is here. I'm mentioning all these names again. Well, Catagombs is the Muchia Te Indigenous Land Trust, but I also want to mention my friends Mark Hubble, Joanne Arnos, a couple of Nancy's, Nancy Davis from Shell Dance Nursery, who always let her use her facility for a variety of community groups and meetings. And lastly, I have to mention my late wife, Nancy Morrison, without whom none of this could happen. But my point is, it takes a village, and those are all villagers that made this happen. So I want to recognize all of them and say that we all did this together. Thank you.
So, Peter, I see that you dashed away. I know there's some council members who want to say a few things, and I do have a card, and there's probably folks on the Zoom, and there might be others in the audience, so you might want to have a seat. All right. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to start?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Peter, I've only known you for about 5 years, but you're one of the first people I met and got to know here in Pacifica because we started with the same concerns. There's a wonderful book, if other people haven't seen it, called Legendary Locals of Pacifica. And there's a page about Peter with a nice photo of a young, handsome Peter when he was first mayor back in the early 80s. What a lifetime you have given to this city. And yes, not just you, but a whole host of family, of fellow activists. It says here, not long after you moved to Pacifica, you started to pay attention when proposed redevelopment of Rockaway would replace the house I lived in with a parking lot. Yeah, a lot of people, and me included, we're not really paying attention until things start to affect us. And that's when we start to wake up and pay attention. And if this is going on, then what's going on over here? And you go down a rabbit hole, and pretty soon you're involved in a lot of things. And you've met a lot of wonderful people in town who are also in this good fight. Yeah, when I moved here, I saw all our beautiful open space, and I thought, oh, what a forward-thinking planning department we've had all these years. And then I learned, no, it really took the activism of citizens to protect these amazing places. I didn't realize the part about Maury Point, and actually having to bring up funds to purchase that, to protect it. I was just hiking there this weekend. It is such a jewel. And the year you came on council was 1982 and 3, that horrible winter with all those landslides, and like understanding that while our open spaces are beautiful, they can sometimes be hazardous, right? And there are things that we need to do to make sure we're doing the right kind of development. You are a star. You've inspired me. I'm not sure I would be here, without your encouragement and guidance. I've learned so much from you in these 5 years, and I know that's not just me. I'm just one person, but you have influenced so many, and we are deeply grateful for you. And Pacifica is a different place because of you, and I'm just so grateful for your service. Thank you.
Hi, Peter. I love seeing the picture of you in the book. And I think every time someone sees a picture of you, they call you handsome, which I think is so cute. Historically, when I think of Pacifica, I think of you. And even when I wasn't paying attention, I knew about you. And so personally, I want to thank you for being so patient with me and for helping me learn without trying to steer me. And that's how I learn best, is when somebody will come to me and teach me things and talk me through things without forcing an opinion or a perception. And that's what you have done for me. And I really need that. So I thank you so much for being a teacher, even though you probably didn't know that you were doing that. And for all you've done for our city.
Peter, being relatively new by comparison to Pacifica, you're a lot of the reason that I live here. It's because of the work and the service that you did that made this such a beautiful place that I wanted to lay down roots here. You're the part of the reason that my blood pressure is 30 pounds lower from driving down into Pacifica. Just getting that easy, peaceful feeling. That's because of you. Your life of service has been an example to our community, and I hope to try to attain even close to that as I move forward in my period of service here on council. Thank you very much for all you did for us.
Thank you, Peter, for what? Thank you, Peter, for what you have done for keeping our open spaces, our beautiful open spaces. And thank you for being a teacher for many of us and teach us what's going on in the city. Like for me, I didn't know much about the city and the community. And you taught me different things, and I appreciate you. And thank you for being an advocate for our open space. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I just want to echo what everyone else has said and add my own little tiny piece to it. There were many, many, many nights I sat in those chairs. The room looked a lot different than it does now. And there used to be all these pictures on the wall. And there were two sets of pictures. There was like this whole set of the presidents of the United States. So I kind of felt like, oh, I'm like in history class or something, but it cut off after, I don't know, Jimmy Carter or something. I don't remember. But then there were these pictures of all the mayors of Pacifica flowing down the wall. And it took me a while to realize that was Peter Loeb. Oh, that's him. And to put that together, because I didn't have the benefit of growing up here. I moved here just a very short while ago, only 32 years. And so I'm, still learning. But what you've accomplished is truly amazing. And the people that you've inspired, the people in this room, and the people who have worked and continue to work on behalf of Pacifica have learned from you. So we thank you, and we're very proud to be Pacificans and carry on traditions of open space and of making a beautiful and very peaceful community where we work hard together. So thank you. I know I have a card. Oh, thank you. I have one card from Suzanne Moore, and I'm sure there are others who would like to speak. So if you would like to take care of that little card business, that would be great. And then you can just queue up, and we'll get the cards later. And then, Emily, you'll let me know if we have anyone on the phone, right? Thank you.
Good evening. Suzanne Moore from District 2. Mother Earth needs advocates, and Peter Loeb is ideal. Peter is knowledgeable, persistent, and generous beyond fault. Peter may be impatient, but the times warrant impatience. Peter may be blunt, but the times warrant blunt truth. The decisions we make today will have great consequences in the future. I'm glad Peter is here to ring the alarm bell so we can all be alert and informed. This award is genuinely deserved, and I thank the committee for acknowledging Peter. Thank you.
I see Sue DeGree coming to the podium.
Hi, good evening. I'd just like to point out a couple things about Peter Loeb's nomination and our gratitude to him as a community, is that the Open Space Committee itself, the task force manuals are so important to our community, and Peter was on that founding with other very important people. You may say, well, how come it's 2025 when Peter's getting this award? Well, that's the second part. Peter is, among many other very generous people in the open space world, is very humble. And there were other people that were aging that Peter wanted to make sure they got recognized, hopefully before their passing. And so the advocacy doesn't end, as you know. Thank you, Peter. And it is so important as a member of the Open Space Committee. The Open Space Committee is a really super fundamental, valuable committee of this community. And I believe that our population consistently appreciates that. And the members of the Open Space Committee are very important people. And Joanne, who was the nominee person, she knows all the folks, believe me. And Joanne knows Peter's humility in putting himself, no, not me this year, no, not me this year, let somebody else have it. And as a member of City Council, it was always important, as you know, that we hear the voice of the people. And so the voice of the people, Peter's one of those who is, he may, like Suzanne said, he may be out there, but he's also out there in a different way. It's that level quietness that's there and never ends. It's the consistency of the voice of the people and helping the people to be able to speak. And as council members and planning commissioners, whatever, hearing the voice of our population is so important. And I thank you, Peter, personally. I think the community is very appreciative.
Cliff Lawrence. And Cliff, it also says Summer Lee on here, so I presume Summer will be up next. And then we'll have Cindy Abbott and Mark Hubble.
Thank you. Great to have this opportunity to share in the honoring of Peter Loeb. I'm a newbie around here, but with some help from some friends, I start meeting lots of new friends here, and they've inspired me in a number of ways. And Peter's been one of those people who, in addition to everything else he does for open space, he's a wonderful mentor, he has a passion about open space, but he has such a wonderful disposition and strength that he shares. He helps me stay level, which is probably a good thing. And we share a passion for the quarry. And all I can say is there's a word I don't use that often, but I think it's appropriate in Peter's case. He's a mensch, and I'm glad he's here with us.
That was tandem love, not...
I see, yes.
Anyway, Cindy Abbott, and just going to wing it here. Been a busy few weeks, so what to say about a guy named Peter? He does so much. Be great if he had his music here with us tonight, too, to entertain us as well. But yes, what I think about with Peter is being one of our just most significant open space heroes. When Pacifica's environmental family put together a presentation a couple years ago, and we went back in the archives of different projects that had been taking place, and we used information from the Pacifica's Historical Society, Footprints of Pacifica. There was Peter all over, talking about up on Sweeney Ridge when it was dedicated, and all of the work went into doing that, bringing in state legislatures and making that happen. I know he says he just got to take advantage of that and be there and be mayor and accept all of the acknowledgments and everything, but we know his voice was always there, because 50 years ago, the year I graduated from high school, Peter and Nancy were pulling into Pacifica. And they've left such an important footprint here for us forever, for perpetuity, that this space is saved and open. And I have a lot of times, you know, working through and protecting open space, the natural environment, shouldn't be. But it is exhausting work because of the roadblocks that are put in front of it. And people who think that cement is more important than the natural environment that we have here now. I read real estate listings just for fun because they're interesting. And more, they all talk about the beautiful area of Pacifica, all of the open space and the land that is protected. And that would not have been if it weren't for Peter and his village of people who have all made this happen. There's lots of times, like last week, when I feel like I want to maybe stop being involved. It's tiring. It's exhausting to keep going. And then I think about Peter. And I go, I can't stop. I'm very angry at you about that. But anyway, I'm going to keep going because Peter is a hero, and we should all keep going to protect this beautiful space, our open hills, our environment, our ocean. And because of Peter, I'm going to keep doing it. And I hope everybody else here does too. Yeah.
I'll keep this short. I'm just here to thank Peter for, doing so much work, and it's hard work, I know, for leaving us all this beautiful space. It's just unbelievable. And I also want to thank Peter for being such a good friend.
No one's on the phone? Okay, great. Well, then I will close the public comment. I think we are going to do our photos a little differently, but I think for this one, we're going to invite the village up, and we'll see if we can have a photo. Is that okay with you, sir? Come on, village.
And Madam Mayor, I have one request,
Of course.
because you mentioned the photos that used to be on the wall.
Yeah.
Could I get my photo back?
I think they're at the Historical Society. We'll figure out where they went. Yeah, of course. We're going to need the wide angle lens.
Who's that? Oh, Michelle.
That's you, Mayor.
Oh, this one. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do it another time. Oh, Sheree.
Okay, did you get my message about that? Okay, thank you. Okay. We'll let them,
I don't know how she has all that energy.
we'll let them talk.
I would like to. Yeah, me too.
Should we just let them talk for a minute? You know, 50 years of service and all.
I think they're done. Yeah? Yeah?
All right. Thank you, everyone. Our next special presentation
It's nice of you to allow the clapping.
50 years, what are you going to do? So our next special presentation is in honor of National Police Week, May 11 to 17 of 2025. And Councilmember Beer will read the proclamation.
All right. Proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of National Police Week, May 11th through 17th, 2025, and National Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th, 2025. Whereas the President of the United States and United States Congress has designated May 15th, 2025 as National Peace Officers Memorial Day in recognition of law enforcement officers nationwide who have sacrificed their lives or been disabled in the performance of their duties. And whereas the law also designates the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week, in recognition of the selfless service provided by thousands of dedicated federal, state, and local enforcement officers. And whereas, during National Police Week, we honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty and pay tribute to those who courageously serve and protect, including our esteemed members of the Pacifica Police Department. And whereas the Pacifica Police Department stands as a pillar of strength, compassion, and service within our community, dedicated to protecting the lives and property of individuals. And whereas it is important that all members of our community know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of those who dedicate their lives to keep our communities safe. And whereas the members of the Pacifica Police Department recognize their duty to serve the community by safeguarding life and property, by providing protection against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Now, therefore, I, Sue Beckmeyer, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week and urge all citizens of Pacifica to observe Wednesday, May 15th, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of the brave men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice to ensure the safety and well-beings of their community done this 12th day of May.
Thank you, thank you. So, it says on this paper, Captain Glasgow, that I'm to invite comments from council members.
Okay.
Would you be willing to have us do it in that order?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Council, who would like to speak first?
Can I go first? I know I just said a whole bunch of words.
You may.
But I think as I was reading the words, that it was the words are profound, right? And so I hadn't seen the proclamation before reading it, and I really appreciate the opportunity to say those words and to mean it, and to thank our officers for everything that you do for our community, all of you, and the years and years of service that you personally have served here. Captain Glasgow, and to our chief, thank you. What would we be without you?
I used to, 2 decades ago, live in the city. I never felt safe. I never felt like I feel when I'm here. That's because of you and your coworkers. And it's that feeling that I wanted to talk about and express to you how much I appreciate that peace that I have in my house, and that's because of you. Thank you very much for your service and all that work with you.
Thank you, Captain Glasgow, and thank you to the officers that are here joining you to receive this proclamation. We're so grateful to each of you. Pacifica means peace, but you look at the log of how much you do every week, and it's not always so peaceful here underneath. Yeah, I got to go on a ride along a couple years ago when I first came on council, and that was just so eye-opening. You know, the challenges you face, little things like someone naked doing their laundry in the laundromat, to, you know, an elder abuse case where all the officers needed to come at once to the scene, right? So if there were other things going on, you know, they were taken because it was important to be there to support each other. Gosh, we've had shootings and stabbings, and you all put your lives on the line to keep us safe, to make sure there's not, you know, more pain, you know, in to each member of our community and the people that pass through it. And I see you being so forward-thinking too, and, you know, installing new cameras and finding ways to better do your job with the more and more limited resources we unfortunately have to offer you. But thank you. Your service, your wisdom, your experience. Thank you all.
Thank you. I met with you guys at the office, and I didn't know that you guys do so many things, and especially in upper area that we have a lot of crime more than any places, and I really appreciate what you do. And when I see you at the mall, sometimes I see people sitting there, and I know you guys are protecting us. And I want to thank you for everything you do. Thank you so much.
I am always inspired when I have the distinct opportunity and pleasure to attend swearing-ins, to attend retirements, and to be part of that very important part of the work and the way that the Pacifica Police Department family continues to support each other and grow. And as we say goodbye to some of our retirees and welcome new employees, and I think about the presence that you have in our community. When you're at school, when you're reading during read aloud days, just that constant presence and security that you bring. Thankfully, we don't have as much crime as San Francisco and places around us, but we don't not have crime. Double negative, I apologize. When I look at some of the releases, the press releases that come out, and I think about the things that you and all of the officers have done, putting your life on the line for our community and keeping folks up and down our coast safe. You know, our Highway 1, it's not like, oh, we're just attracting all of these folks here. This is a thoroughfare, and you are the vanguards keeping all of the coastline safe. And thank you for all that you set aside in your personal life, in your family's lives, to devote to us. Thank you all for what you do for us.
Thank you, Mayor Beckmeyer, fellow council members, Bill Glasgow, Captain of your Police Department. Just on behalf of Chief Sarasua and the entire police department, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude for the City Council's resolution in recognition of National Police Week. This meaningful gesture is a powerful reminder of the strong partnership between our department and the community that we serve, honoring the dedication and sacrifice of law enforcement officers past and present. Not only uplifts our officers, but also reinforces our shared commitment to public safety, service, and trust. We are deeply appreciative of your continued support and recognition. It motivates our officers to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and integrity in all that we do. So again, thank you for standing with us during this important week of reflection and appreciation. We're very lucky to work in a very supportive community, and it's because of everyone here, council, community, and the men and women that serve us every single day. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We have another one. I was thinking maybe we'll do them together if it's okay. Is that all right, the photos?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to read our Emergency Medical Services Week proclamation, May 18 to 24. This holds a special spot in my heart right now. Proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital service provided to the public by the North County Fire Authority and other emergency medical teams. And whereas the North County Fire Authority firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs, as well as other emergency medical teams, are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality pre-hospital emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas pre-hospital emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams complete thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas we are proud to recognize the value and accomplishments of the North County Fire Authority, firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs, as well as all other emergency medical services providers, by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Sue Beckmeyer, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to 24th, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week, done this 12th day of May, 2025. And Battalion Chief Frederick is here, but I want to check in with council and let you say some things first. Oh, and I forgot to check with you, Emily, so let's do public comment for all of this at once, okay? Yes, please. Council, who's first? Greg?
Without our first responders there for us, we'd be in a world of hurt. We can't express enough appreciation to you for the work that you do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, that sense of security that I'm able to go to sleep at night knowing that if there's an issue and I need somebody, you guys will be there. And I want to thank you for that. It's not just for me, it's for my family, it's for my neighbors, it's for the neighborhood, it's for my community. You guys are always there. Thank you very much.
I'll echo everything that Councilmember Wright had to say. And also, when I heard Mayor Beckmeyer say that this was close to her heart, I was reflecting on all the times that it has been close to my heart, too. And so there's been many times when myself and my family have needed the help, and you've been there. And there's no better words that I can say, but thank you.
And I'll just echo that. You were at my house less than a year ago. My mom had fallen and broken her leg and had run out of Medicare time in rehab. She wasn't ready. They kicked her out, sent her to my house. Her first night there, she slipped. She fell out of her chair, and we couldn't get her up. And what really struck me is that you weren't there just to solve the problem, but you were assessing the situation, assessing what she needed, giving us guidance so that we made sure she had the right care she needed, but also understanding that we didn't have the capacity to give her what she needed, right? And so you're really looking for the good of the person and, the family around them. And that was really, really moving, and will stay with me. To know that you can be counted on. Someone has a heart attack, you've got to be there, right there. And so thank you.
And not only that, I learned that when you guys send somebody to whatever services is needed, you provide the first services to the person, so you don't have to take it immediately to the emergency. So they get first aid treatment right there. And I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I am a personal witness to that fact. Very recently, as in this month, you provided me direct care on the spot. You provided my husband education on the spot. And you brought a sense of comfort and, I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I just knew that I was going to be in good hands. And I am so grateful to you. And to the care that you give to all of our community, because we need you. And, we've been working on aging issues. I look at the data and the statistics and how many calls are for folks who are older. And I think about how that's going to be playing out for us in the next few years and decades. So I can't say enough about you, and I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And good morning, or good evening, honorable council members. It's an absolute honor to stand before you today as North County Fire Authority being recognized and celebrating EMS Week. A time dedicated to honoring the unwavering commitment and sacrifice of our emergency medical services professionals. We're deeply grateful to Mayor Sue Beckmeyer and the Pacifica City Council and the community for this proclamation, which acknowledges the life-saving work of EMS providers every day. Our paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, and first responders demonstrate courage, compassion, and professionalism in the face of emergencies. They are a steady hand, a reassuring voice in moments of uncertainty, providing critical care and support when seconds matter most. This proclamation is more than just words. It's a testament to the dedication, resilience, and tireless service of EMS professionals everywhere. It's a reminder that behind every siren and every emergency call and every life-saving intervention, there's a team of highly trained individuals who serve without hesitation. To my fellow EMS professionals, EMS Week is for you. Your commitment to excellence, your sacrifice, and your passion for service do not go unnoticed. You inspire, you heal, and you make a difference every single day. To the community, your support and recognition means the world to us. EMS is a team effort, and knowing that we have your trust and gratitude strengthens our mission. As we celebrate EMS Week, let us take the opportunity not only to honor the past and present achievements of EMS providers, but also look ahead towards continued innovation, stronger collaboration, and a future where emergency medical services continue to grow. Thank you again for this proclamation, for your support and standing with us as EMS professionals today and always. We're proud to serve, and we remain committed to being there for you whenever we're needed. Thank you.
Emily, I don't have cards for this item. Is there anyone on the phone? Okay, we're going to do a photo with all of you all. If you would come up, please. And police and medical services. All right.
No, I don't. Oh, that'd be fine.
All right. We have one additional proclamation this week because we have an overlap. The same week that is Emergency Medical Services Week, May 18 to 24, is also National Public Works Week. And so we have City Engineer Roland Yip is here, and our Mayor Pro Tem Christine Bowles will read the proclamation.
I'd be delighted. Proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of National Public Works Week, May 28th to 24th, 2025. Whereas the City of Pacifica employs over 60 public works professionals, including parks, streets, and building maintenance workers, wastewater collections and plant operators, lab technicians, rangers, engineers, managers, and administrative staff. And whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are of vital importance to the sustainability and resiliency of communities, as well as the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Pacifica. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and youth of Pacifica to develop an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in our community. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And whereas the City of Pacifica will hold an open house for National Public Works Week on May 28th, 2025, and National Public Works Week will be celebrated from May 18th to 24th, 2025, throughout the United States to acknowledge the contributions Public Works has on our community and our everyday lives. And whereas the American Public Works Association has announced the theme for the 2025 National Public Works Week as People, Purpose, Presence, which highlights 3 cornerstone ideals that motivate public works professionals to serve in the communities every day. Whereas public works employees keep communities strong by providing critical services in traffic, transportation, engineering, stormwater, wastewater collection and treatment, public facilities, parks and beaches, emergency management, first response, and right-of-way management. And whereas meeting the needs of people is what gives public works its sense of purpose. Now therefore, I, Sue Beckmeyer, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby designate the week of May 18th to 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week and recognize our public works professionals and the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Done this 12th day of May, 2025.
Thank you for being here. I wanted to check with council if you want to make some comments, and then we'll have comments from Roland.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Hi, Roland. I like the part of the proclamation where it talked about young people understanding how important public works is, and I also think it's important for them to understand that that's like a career pathway for them. And I know they talk about that a lot at the Water District too, where young people don't really know that, you know, and so it's really important. And, I mean, you do everything. you just do everything for us. Like, I couldn't even count all the things that Public Works does for our city and how important, everything you do is so important just to make the city flow, literally.
Yep.
Right? So thank you.
And I cannot imagine, look at me jumping on.
Jump right in. You just go, girl.
I cannot imagine all of the phone calls you get about everything. I believe like garbage, this and that, potholes, my favorite thing. So, and I already reported a few of them and you guys have done the work. So I really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you for doing what you're doing. You keep the city clean and order and everything else. Thank you.
And I'll just go, yeah, we couldn't operate without you. I mean, think of the sewage overflows, think of our buildings falling apart, think of our roads with potholes and dangerous intersections. And you're only one person here for 60 people in your department, and that's probably because they're all busy working or they're tired. Oh, there are 2. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you back there. And I love the theme for the year, people, purpose, presence. I mean, recognizing each person and the vital job that they have, whether it be the engineer or the lab technician or, you know, the person who clears out a drain in the middle of the night during a storm. The purpose, I mean, you all sense a sense of purpose, right, to be able to come and do this job and keep the city running every day. And obviously your presence here every day is so essential. So we have deep gratitude and glad to celebrate with you all this week. And I hope you're going to tell us more about the public events coming up.
I want to echo what all my council members have also said, but you guys are the bike paths that keep our bicycle riders safe. You're the crosswalks. You're the stop signs. You're what stop us from smashing into each other on the streets. When a tree falls, you're the guys there clearing it off. When a retaining wall falls on Adobe, you guys are the guys there making it safe for the public to get by. This city would not function without you, and we owe you a debt of appreciation, even though you operate in the background in silence. This is our opportunity to tell you thank you, and I greatly appreciate your service. Thank you.
I think it's really fitting that this proclamation is falling tonight when we have our police and fire, because really, you're all our first responders. And we know that better. We know that better here than anywhere at certain times of the year out here on Beach Boulevard. that is critical life safety work that you're doing. It's fun. I mean, Public Works is fun too. I know there's some fun things coming up, but it's very serious and very essential. And I've learned so much just being on city council. I have new eyes for things that I didn't really notice or take note of or understand how they all fit together. I have a much better understanding. You personally have taught me so much, especially about roads and the crosswalks and the safety and all of the standards that exist for these things. When you're not in that profession, you kind of don't know. I didn't. Why can't we just put a crosswalk here? Well, there's reasons. So thank you, Roland, personally. Thank you, Public Works. I passed the drain this morning, woke up this morning and said, oh, it rained. Oh, and I went to work and I went, oh, that drain, if it's not cleaned out when I get home, I'm going to have to stop and clean that out because all the stuff came rushing down because it hasn't rained for a little while. It was done. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. It's an honor for me tonight to accept this on behalf of the Public Works Department. With me here today is also Dan Patton, the Engineering Manager of Wastewater. To use a line from our previous director, we are a small but mighty Public Works team here. The people who I'm accepting on behalf of includes certified operators, engineers, technicians, and maintenance workers with years and in some cases decades of experience. Their skill, professionalism, commitment to public service is what keeps the city running smoothly day in and day out. Just to reiterate some of what has been mentioned by the council members here, our field services division keeps our streets safe and clean. They maintain traffic signs, stormwater systems, and they respond quickly during our storms and emergencies, similar to what has been done annually over at Beach Boulevard with the overtopping of the seawall and the breaches that go on there. Our wastewater division ensures that we have sewer service, maintains our pump stations, cleans sewer mains so that they prevent SSOs, and they run a complex wastewater treatment plant. And then our engineering division, we handle the permitting for all the work going on in the right-of-way. We handle reporting for all sorts of stormwater and other requirements. We lead on the private development review. And then both the wastewater and engineering division has handled delivery of critical capital projects, and we're actively trying to improve our infrastructure. Just at this moment right now, we have 3 active construction projects from the engineering division and 4 active ones from the wastewater division. And if anyone wants to learn more about Public Works, we have an open house on Wednesday, May 28th from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 151 Malagra Avenue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. You want to do a photo? Yeah, we're doing a photo.
Oh, you need one? Here, have a pen. I have a pen too. Oh, this wasn't yours. Sorry, let's see.
I'm sure we can. Okay. All right. We have a few items on consent. We're turning to our consent calendar. And so I first off would like to know if there are any council members who wish to pull an item from consent. Seeing none, I will open public comment for items on the consent agenda. I don't have any cards. Is there anyone on the phone? Nope, no one on the phone. All right, then, we'll close public comment on the consent, and I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, thank you very much. Moving on. Public comments.
Can we revote? It looks like they got off-centered.
Over off kilter. We'll revote. Did everyone vote?
I'm waiting for one more light.
If it's me, it's not working because I pushed it.
There we go.
Okay, but there's only 4 of
Oh,
us.
Espinosa did it.
I'm going to go through a roll call vote.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Wright.
Yes.
Councilmember Espinosa. Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bowles.
Yes.
And Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes,
And the vote is unanimous.
thank you. All right, and now, public comments on items not on the posted agenda. This portion of the agenda is available for the public to address the city council on any issue that is not on the agenda. Any person wishing to address the council will have 3 minutes, and we request that you keep the comments to items that are in the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. And I do have one card, and that card is Politic Shara. Hello.
Good evening, Council. My name is Paula Texera, and I'm with the Pacifica Library, San Mateo County Libraries. And I wanted to start by asking 2 questions. Don't worry, I know you can't answer. How many amendments does the Constitution have? And what is the rule of law? These are 2 questions out of 100 that people must learn for the citizenship test. Every Monday night at the Sharp Park Library, we have an ongoing citizenship class where we go over civics questions, reading and writing for the citizenship test, as well as the N400 form that they must fill out to get an interview. The class is held from 5:30 to 6:30, and I have flyers in the back. The San Mateo County Libraries also holds English conversation clubs, English classes at some of our 13 branches. Everything is free. We'd like to get the word out, so if you know anyone who might be thinking about becoming a citizen or needs to practice the questions as well as the reading and writing, please tell them to come to the class. It's ongoing, there's no sign-ups. There's also going to be a free immigration workshop starting on May 23rd at the Millbrae Library, as well as 2 more in June and July. Again, I've left flyers in the back. Oh, and back to those 2 questions. How many amendments does the Constitution have? 27. And what is the rule of law? Nobody is above the law. Did you know the answers? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. Okay. I have no more cards. I see someone approaching, 2 people approaching. Sue Degree and then Remy Tan.
I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want to extend the meeting, but Paula asking the questions about the Constitution. So as an elder citizen, been around a long time, it still bothers me. You've heard me say it before, but I think for the public out there, it really concerns me that we should be super careful about anything coming from anybody, anywhere, that especially includes elected legislators, forcing things upon the citizenry without enabling the citizens to be fully engaged. So yes, I am referring to the RENA things for one thing. I think we really need to scrutinize such things to make sure that our basic civil right of being able to be engaged in our decision-making upon ourselves. That's part of the Constitution. Constitution says that representatives do not take the place of the citizen. They are representatives, but they do not. The public, the citizen does not abdicate themselves, their will. So it really bothers me. I'm not anti-affordable housing. I'm not anti-housing, that would be kind of dumb. But I am anti-taking the public vigorous vote out of what they have to say about their own communities and their citizenship. Thank you.
Thank you. Remy Tan.
Hello, good evening, Honorable City Council. I just want to bring up a couple things. I know today is a rainy day, but the weeks prior were pretty dry, and I was surprised that I keep hearing fireworks. I mean, we're far from the New Year's and far from 4th of July, and I look out of my window, somebody's shooting fireworks out, and I just think, boy, when we get into the fire season, this is going to be an issue. So I, urge City Council to, reconsider and, an outright fireworks ban in town. Most of our fellow cities along the peninsula, you can't even have safe and sane fireworks. And in my opinion, there's no safe and sane fireworks with the fire hazards now. And, all we need is one big, one of those little ones or even the big ones to set a hill on fire, and we'll lose hundreds of houses and put a lot of our residents out of a home. So it's not worth it. And I was down in Half Moon Bay during their little boat festival, and they had a drone show, which was really great. And and that's something maybe the city can get together with some of the nonprofits and do some kind of fundraiser drone show in light of fireworks. So hope that can happen. Also, notice there's a lot of overflies in the north part of the town from SFO. It seems to be getting worse and worse. I go to the SF roundtable, and Councilmember Bowles and Pro Tem Mayor Bowles is on that one, and the last one I was at, there were a lot of people from Palo Alto that made complaints, and they go to this site that's called stopjetnoise.net. So I urge everybody in town, especially in the north end, to make an account and log on to stop.jetnoise.net and file the complaints when you hear something go over on the north side of town, especially at 1 and 2 a.m. So I'm still woken up. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other cards, and no one on the phone? All right. Then we'll close public comment and bring it back to council for the next thing that we're doing, which is council communications. The purpose of council communications is for council members to inform each other of items of potential interest to other council members, such as interagency meetings. So, council members, we haven't done a proper council communications in a little while. I'd love to invite any comments or updates that you need to share with each other. Who would like to go first?
Well, I'll jump in if nobody else does. And I don't have very much. I had a family tragedy that has taken me away from a lot these last 2 weeks. But I just want to thank everyone who came out, including the whole council, for the offshore reef presentation here a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a great turnout and great explanation. And I really encourage people to click on the links for more information. In particular, there was a great little 12-minute video of a wave tank that shows different types of armoring and how the overtopping is affected. So a straight seawall, and as it gets taller, and if you have rocks in front, if you have a sloped face, and then you put the offshore reef in the middle, and the difference is incredible. So it's just really, they only showed the tiny bit for the offshore reef, so it missed the whole sort of explanation of the comparison of the different options. So anyway, that was super interesting. And then, and I want to thank City Manager Woodhouse for working with me at the last minute to finish the grant through Stanford for the sustainable cities that was due all of a sudden on a Friday afternoon when I had to take off. But really excited about that. So we were looking at a few different grants, including some from NOAA, but this is actually from Stanford, and so the money is there. And again, this is starting to put some instrumentation to understand our wave dynamics and sand movement that'll help with a lot of our different projects in this area. And this is just a good first step to building this relationship, because I think there's a lot more opportunities. I did attend the Coastal Commission meeting on Wednesday, just to, the Coastal Commission's under a lot of attack at the state and federal level, so I wanted to say some words in support, and also to support their chair, Justin Cummings, who's our representative from Santa Cruz County, because his position is up in the air right now with Speaker Rivas looking to make an appointment. And I had hoped to go Thursday, and I was watching from home. I'll let you all talk about that, but yeah, I thought it was. I knew people in the community were going to say some of the comments I had made, against some of the policies, and I wanted to be very careful to not influence the conversation. So anyway, it was intentional, but glad to see us moving forward. So,
Okay, I'll go. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming out. Let's see. I do have a couple of community announcements. So on June 1st, Pacificans Care is having their Coastal Cheer wine and beer tasting fundraiser from 1:30 to 4 o'clock at Peter Point Firehouse, and you can get tickets at pacificanscare.org. I promised Bill Michaelis that I would say that. I love Dr. Bill. And then PCT is having their open house, Get Ready and Learn, on May 24th from 2 to 5 p.m. at their station at 580 Crespi. Please feel free to join us there. It's going to be fun. It's always fun when PCT has their open house. I wanted to touch briefly on the Pacifica Pride planning team and just say what an amazing group of people and volunteers that we have involved in planning this event this year. It is running like a well-oiled machine, and it's really amazing to watch. And so I feel like I'm on the perimeter kind of watching Lauren Smith do her thing and do their thing, and all the people who have come around. It's really great. And it's really important that we, as a community, support our LGBTQ plus community, and they are doing just that. So I'm really looking forward to the event. It's going to be super fun. Regular car parade, so we don't have to close any of the streets, and the festival at IBL. It's just going to be great. So looking forward to that. I was also very happy to attend the offshore coral reef presentation. I explained to someone, my neighbor was also there, so we were talking about it, and those gentlemen, they're just like salt of the earth. They're just the coolest guys, and they're so smart, and they're so dedicated, and so it was really a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot, and it's hopeful, and I appreciate that, so thank you. Our Mayor's Mental Health Initiative got an award from the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services Commission, the Tony Hoffman Mental Health Service Award. So it was really nice to be recognized countywide for the work of the Mayor's Mental Health Initiative. So I want to thank them for that. Let's see, what else? I want to thank everyone who came to our youth summit and everyone who supported it in one way or another. I especially want to shout out to Eli Poblitz and his photo booth. If you need a photo booth, go to Eli. Not only is he super cool and energetic, but he's really professional, and it's really fun. And then a big shout out to Robbie Bancroft for working nonstop all year long with my students and teaching them so much about podcasting and media and marketing. These young people were so lucky to have him on board. So they really learned a lot from him, and he's not going to be able to do it because he has other adventures coming up in his life. But Robbie, I just wanted to thank you, and I love you, so thank you so much. That's it.
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to all of our planning staff that worked so hard for so long, all the way back, including Christian Murdoch, to work with Coastal Commission to make it easy for me to go to a Coastal Commission meeting and see us be the first in the state to get our local coastal land use plan approved. I want to thank Kevin for his diligent work on all of that and all of our city staff. Big lift, big accomplishment. It sets us ready to get down to the work of dealing with our future and addressing sea level rise. And I look forward to that challenge. I also want to acknowledge what a privilege it was to be able to go to the Progress Seminar. All the people that I met there, had a chance to interact with, all the things that I learned there. It was amazing. I would recommend it for anyone. That's amongst the hundreds of other things I did. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, including cover the CCAG meeting for me on Thursday night. I appreciate that very much. I want to say I'm going to echo your thanks to staff and to our community, of course, for turning up and turning out and showing up and paying attention and giving us feedback on our local coastal land use plan. This was a big lift for us all. The approach is very different than what has been the approach in the past. I'm encouraged that we have the support of 8-1 vote, and to hear Coastal Commission staff speaking about the engagement that they had with our staff and looking ahead to how they expect to see our interactions continue. This isn't a one and done. This isn't, good, we got our certification, now we don't have to think about them for 40 years. No, not at all. The city manager said it really best in his closing comment about this isn't the end, it's really the beginning. And I heard those sentiments echoed a few places that I wanted to share. One of which was in Commissioner Megan Harmon's comments. She referred to the reason she liked the approach that we're taking is because it requires proactive planning rather than a reactive response. And she was encouraged to see that forward movement can happen. And what is before us is not a panacea for sea level rise adaptation on balance. It's for meaningful and positive progress. It's concerning. It's concerning to her. It's concerning to us all that the voices are not united. But when you consider the community that we all represent and the experiences that we're all experiencing on our coastline, it's not surprising to me. And what is before us is to get all of the voices together. What's been talked about, and I'm looking forward to fleshing out and working with you more on the opportunities through the grant funds that I think are still in place through Ocean Protection Council. And I know the commission itself has some funds that are presently still available. Kate Huckelbridge, the executive director of the commission, commented that as she was listening to public comments, she heard overlaps in the vision from all sides. And so what we need to do is find those overlaps and work together to create that vision for Pacifica, because that is what's going to guide all of the work that we have going forward. this adaptation planning, we have a start, but our adaptation plan is 2017. You know, as a librarian, I know when you have a book publication date, the work that went into that date was actually the year before. So this is a time for us to be looking at that plan, updating it. I was encouraged in looking at over as reviewing for the LCLUP that really, I know there are some concerns, especially in the middle section with Fairway West, but when I look at the way that the segmentation was done for our sea level rise adaptation plan, I really don't know how else I would do it. But that's just me and my reaction. So I think we have those documents to begin with, and we need to figure out what's also not there. And how do we make it a holistic response with forward planning and visioning? Because we've got to address what's before us, but we have to address what's coming in decades from now. So I'm engaged, looking forward to working on that, coming up with a process for us to roll that out in the coming year and creating a timeline for how that work is going to unfold. So thank you again, everyone, for your comments, for your effort, and for showing up, because that's what it takes.
I just have something to say.
Please.
On Saturday, I attended to the ADU workshop.
Oh, good.
They had the different dealers, and they also had a lending. They have the credit union, and there was another company there that lent money for people to build the ADU. Unfortunately, we don't have any more grants, so but we're probably gonna pay attention to see if there are any other grants. So some people were saying that it was difficult to get approved for an ADU in Pacifica. So, actually, I also learned that if you wanted to do an attached ADU to your primary residence, you need more like a structure engineer, kind of, and also do a special plans, like an architect or so. So, but I thought it was, a lot of people were there. It was busy, people who needed more, I guess, people gonna stay longer in their house because they can do an ADU to have an extra bedroom in the house. So, and it is another way to build equity too for some people. And I think it was very interesting. Also, they did had, you could go to different locations to see what other people have done. It was very interesting. So if you're thinking about, anybody who's thinking about an ADU, learn more about it.
And maybe the city manager can speak up. I know staff has just launched a new website, right? So we have a lot of information with pre-made plans and so forth online on the city website now. So, yeah.
Well, before we move on, I did not mean to just brush over the LCLUP, and so I'm sorry for that. So I will make a few comments. One thing is that I listened intently to the commissioners, and I learned a lot from their response, and I was really, I feel super grateful for how intentful they were, and I urge people to watch the meeting and to listen to that. And I do want to shout out to both Tina and Christian, Tina Wermeister and Christian Murdoch, our former planning directors who put so much time and effort into the LCLUP. I was definitely thinking about Christian all day long, and so thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who attended down there, and for all of your work, Mayor, and it'll be wonderful to be able to move forward and start looking at the nature-based solutions and the adaptation strategies and all the things that we really want to look at while being an example for other cities.
And I just have one last thing before I turn it over to the city manager. I want to acknowledge our city attorney on the occasion of her birthday. and thank her very much for showing up on your birthday in Pacifica for our meeting. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. We have a little.
Happy birthday!
Cumpleaños.
My birthday's in August, so you can sing.
Yeah, I know, you have a nice voice.
It's longer, though. I cut it off.
Oh, it's not the simple. Cumpleaños. Feliz.
Happy birthday, Michelle. Thank you.
Because Mexican, they do this.
Okay, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. I'll start by just providing a little more information, as was mentioned, about the city's new ADU webpage and plans gallery. So the new webpage has an ADU plans gallery that's alive on the website, and it really provides new tools, as Councilmember Espinoza was saying, in terms of streamlining ADU permitting and plans that are available that save money for those that are interested. And so it's a great step forward regarding ADUs. And Pacifica actually does have as the council knows from our housing element progress report, a lot of ADUs have been built in Pacifica, so that's great. I won't talk much about the LCLUP, but I actually did really want to acknowledge Community Development Director Samantha Updegrave for coming in. I think the LCP had a tendency of, working its way through community development directors, as Councilmember Beer mentioned, Tina Weremeister, and then Christian Murdoch. And Ms. Updegrave stepped in December and picked up where it was left off and really did a great job in championing that, as well as all of the planning staff. And it was a great learning and growing opportunity for other planning staff that were filling in the interim as well. And then I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the really important contributions of the city attorney's office through this whole process. This policy document has a lot of legal complexities in it, and the city attorney's office really was essential member of the team and of all the meetings that we had coordinating with Coastal Commission staff and Coastal Commission legal counsel as we worked through this process. So it's sort of a amazing, as I commented to the commission, it's hard to think that after 10 years, you would hope that it's sort of something that's done, and it is, but it's also more so the beginning. So it allows us to really plan in the present and prepare for the future moving forward. And that's what's really critical about this document. So it was really a huge milestone, not just Pacifica, but for statewide as well. The last comment I wanted to make is just a reminder, an announcement to the public, and the agenda will go out most likely by end of tomorrow, is Saturday is the City Council's governance training, similar to strategic planning. We'll start at 8:30 with some light breakfast refreshments, and the meeting will officially start at 9. And just for everyone's sake, it will not be here in the council chambers. It's going to be in the dual conference rooms at the Civic Center. So a little change of scenery for this more intimate conversation about governance, facilitated by Greg Larson, who did our strategic planning as well. So,
which is, of course, open to the public.
Yes,
the event.
yes, yeah.
The opportunity.
And the public agenda will be posted, and we'll set it up the same way as for strategic planning, where the agenda will name a time before which public comment won't happen. So anybody that wants to show up for public comment can come at that time, and it might be later than that, but it won't be before that time. And that completes my communications.
Thank you very much. All right, council. We have 2 items for consideration on tonight's agenda, and I want to know if we want a 5-minute break before we start.
I would, yeah, that's a good.
All right, it is 8:45-ish. Let's say 9:50. We'll come back at
Recording
9:50.
stopped.
8:50. Oh my gosh, 8:50. Sorry. I know, sorry. I'm just like, it's so early for us. I need to make one note that I forgot, and someone so kindly even gave me the
Recording in
flyer
progress.
to make a notice that there is Bike to Wherever Day. I know for Pacifica, Pledge to Ride a Bike in May, Bike to Work Day, or Bike to Wherever, in our case, school, on my day job, is May 15th. Bike to Wherever Day. Okay. We are consideration, I've got to find my thing. Okay, consideration item, fiscal year 2025-26 base budget and introduction of the 2025 to 2030 capital improvement program. The proposed action is to accept the report and provide feedback and direction to the base budget and capital improvement program. We have our city manager, assistant city manager Yulia Carter, and Marcel?
Yeah, and the whole team.
And, the whole team is here. Okay, did you want to start off, city manager?
We have an incredible team here from Public Works and Finance, so I'm going to immediately turn it over to them to dive right into the presentation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Madam Mayor and City Council, so the item before you is a base budget and introduction of the 2030 Capital Improvement Plan. Again, we have the whole team here, Marisol Gomez, Director of Finance and Administrative Services, also Public Works team, Roland Yape, Deputy Director of Public Works, and Daniel Patton, Engineering Manager. We will be presenting jointly today, so the agenda for tonight is just go over the budget timeline again, to just remind the council and the public where we are in the budget development process. But the main agenda item today is a base budget. So we'll talk a little bit about what base budget is, what it means in the base budget, the methodology, how we develop the budget. We'll also go over the revenues and expenditures assumptions and talk about projected general fund balance structure under the base budget, and as well as other funds, and then we'll turn to Public Works team to go over capital improvement programs and bring it back to the next steps. So first of all, the budget timeline here, so you can see we are in public studies, public meeting number 5, or study session number 2. And again, base budget and the CIP review is the main agenda item. So once we discuss this tonight, the next step would be to bring the CIP plan for conformity with general plan. So it goes to Planning Commission on June 2nd, just for conformity purposes. And after that, we will return to City Council for budget session number 3, where the main agenda topic at that session would be to for council to review and approve the city manager's recommendations for the upcoming 25-26 budget. And concludes this process is the city council's budget hearing with the formal adoption of the 25-26 operating and capital budget, as well as the master fee schedule. So now, again, just a reminder what the base budget is, and I want to highlight that developing the base budget is a key step in the budget development process. So what we do as part of this exercise, we take the we build the base budget on the fiscal year 24-25 revised budget. You may remember us discussing the mid-year budget review and assumptions. So we take that as a base for the budget development process. We usually take out one-time expenses that were approved by council in the previous year, and we add the assumptions for the upcoming year's budget. So the base budget is not the duplication of the current year's budget. It's not also proposed or recommended budget yet. So it doesn't include any increases or reductions to the current level of services. It does not include any changes to the current staffing level as well. But we do include the CIP program, even though some of the CIP projects are new, but we want to include them with the base because we want to build in capital transfers, and it's just easier to build in the CIP allocations before we talk about operating budget enhancements or reductions of services. So in other words, the base budget is what today's services will cost us tomorrow. So it doesn't include any changes yet. And so on the next slide, we just go over how we actually do that. So we establish the base. Again, at the current level of services, we develop base budget revenues and expenditure assumptions, and we'll go over this later in the presentation. So those assumptions may include like medical rates or PERS, inflationary adjustments, so things that essentially outside of our control. Based on that, we determine surplus or deficit, and unfortunately, again, for the upcoming year, we are looking at the deficit. And based on that information, we later, for the next budget session, we develop decision packages for council's consideration for either service enhancements or reduction, combination of both. And internally, what happens next? Well, typically, all departments work on those packages to be submitted to the city manager. We do require them to be ranked based on their priorities, and then city manager prioritizes in this packages citywide and includes, excuse me, the city manager recommended options in the proposed budget, and that budget is being presented to the council for formal approval. So before we dive into the details, well, here are the highlights of the base budget that is before you. So as you can see, we're projecting 49.8 million in revenues, in general fund revenues, which is only 3% above the current year's revised budget level. That's not, well, that's essentially flat. And while general fund operating expenditures go up to 53 million, or almost 11% over the revised budget, that increase is primarily due to increase in pension and medical rates, additional allocation to unfunded pension and OPEB liability, and increase to the debt service budget that was reduced last year, as you may remember, as well as some standard cost living adjustments and to the city's contractual obligations. So the difference between the revenues and expenditures create the structural deficit of 3.2 million, as budget report indicates. And again, this is before the reallocation of the excess ERAF revenues, which was one of the strategies that the council discussed and provided direction to staff on at the last study session. So the previously approved budget strategies listed here as a reminder. Again, the change reallocation of excess ERAF revenues to keep them in general fund to help address the projected budget deficit. So we did that, and you will see it in the future slides, what the budget will look like before and after. But again, the council may provide some additional direction tonight of whether a portion of this revenues should continue to be allocated to disaster accounting fund and housing action funds as it used to be, or it should remain in the general fund. The second strategy includes funding the VLF and LU revenues, which we again included in the budget. We included the full backfill revenues. It's 2.3 million for the upcoming year. But we also plan to assign a portion of the general fund balance to offset potential loss of these revenues. So it's going to be on the back end of the general fund. We will put this money aside as designated funds from the fund balance to backfill in case the state doesn't follow through on its obligations. And finally, prioritize future revenue-generating development strategies. Again, we discussed it at the last study session, and you will see more recommendations related to that at the next study session when we talk about actual budget enhancements. So just to reiterate again, here's what is not included in the base budget. So once again, no changes to the current level of services. We are talking about no changes to staffing level or additional funding to advance the city's strategic plan initiatives and priorities. There is no changes in cost allocation, development, impact fees, or master user fees. Again, we have an upcoming study coming up in the beginning of this new fiscal year, so the RFP is actually being developed as we speak right now. And there is no assumption to labor contracts negotiations included in the base as well. So just a reminder, all MOUs expire at the end of this current fiscal year, so the city is currently in negotiations with all bargaining groups. And with that, I want to turn it to Marisol Gomez, Finance Administrative Services Director, to go over details of the base budget.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Well, good evening. Thank you again for hearing the budget presentation today. It's a pleasure to be presenting jointly with the group here. So I'm going to be going over the general fund budget assumptions for revenues, expenditures, and the structural fund balance of the general fund. So as we see on the slide here, the general fund revenue estimates for the base budget 25-26 is at $49.8 million. I did highlight a couple things here. In the budget strategy, in the budget study session 1, we presented you with the long-term financial forecast, and that we included some of the assumptions that you see before you. We did make some changes, and I'll go over that slightly here. So for property tax, transient occupancy tax, the vehicle license fees, and the ERAFs, we're going to go into further detail. But overall, the revenue projections are 3% above the mid-year revised estimate, as Assistant City Manager mentioned. So for property tax, it's the largest revenue source for the city. We're projecting 17.5 million, which is a 3% increase over the mid-year revised budget of 24-25 revised budget. The property tax is comprised of 35% of the city general fund revenues. Historically, the property tax base has shown a lower growth in the city compared to other Bay Area cities. At this point in time, we traditionally budget conservatively for the property tax, and one of the reasons being is the property tax roll starts at the county assessor's office being assessed at the beginning of the year. And at this time, it doesn't include any exemptions that the City of Pacifica's properties would have, or any adjustments in assessed values. So after July 1st, the county assessor's office will increase that projection by a certain number unknown at this time. And at that time, with the mid-year review, we will review our property taxes to ensure that we're in line with projections and increase if necessary, or review if that's falling below our estimates. For transient occupancy tax, TOT, this is where our STR, short-term rental ordinance, changes went into effect. As mentioned in the previously provided long-term financial forecast and budget study session 1, we projected a 1.3 to 1.4 million reduction over the next 3 years due to those ordinance changes that were approved. In specifically in 25-26, that is coming to a revenue loss of $620,000 above the base budget. This is a slight increase of $100,000 over our previously estimated number because of the additional restrictions that were added to the ordinance change. So that's what we reflected here in the base budget. For the vehicle license fee, VLF in lieu, this is the third largest revenue category, and it accounts for 11% of the fiscal year 2025-26 budgeted general fund revenues. This category is very interesting. As you guys probably know by now, we've talked about the volatility of the vehicle in lieu. It's interesting because we have the base revenue that we were provided from the county, which is an increase, but we also budget a shortfall of the current year's revenue that the county is due to Pacifica, as well as we budget for a backfill that the county owes to Pacifica over a 2-year lag. So it's a very complicated number, and we try our best to use the county's estimates and base off of what they provide us, incorporate that into the current year's base budget. It is a large portion, as I said, 11%, so we keep an eye on this number. Again, as we receive those revenues through the next fiscal year, we will review them, and in your quarterly reports that we provide, make sure we track it very well as in the mid-year review, we will make sure we account for how we're tracking with this item. Excess ERAF, I wanted to point this one out, not because of the amount, but if we go back to the slide, the excess ERAF portion here is the $110,000. It is not the fully budgeted portion that we had mentioned for Budget Strategy 1. We'll show that in a different slide. But we are bringing this portion of the ERAF back down to the status quo. What we do, as Assistant City Manager Yulia Carter mentioned, we remove one-time allocations from the budget, and that also includes removing one-time allocations from our revenues. So this is going back down to that base number. And we'll talk further about the excess ERAF on slide 12. And that is our general fund revenues. We'll move on to the general fund expenditure items. So for the base budget assumptions, we're estimating $53.2 million. And again, this is a 11% increase, even with backing out those one-time adjustments that have come through the fiscal year to date, whether that be previously approved or at mid-year adjustments. We comb through the line items and make sure we remove those. That's why you'll see some of those reductions in contract services and materials and supplies. But on top of that, we increase for assumptions with the contract services, salary and benefits, and the transfers out. Again, this year, we're the general fund is funding the debt service fund for our debt schedule. Last year, there was a one-time break. So that is a large portion of the increase over the mid-year review. I'll go into detail a little bit further on the next slide. Personnel expenditures come to about $36.4 million. That is fully funding our 275 full-time equivalents. That is for for your salary and benefits, your personnel. That's going to include, as we mentioned earlier, no increase to FTEs. It's just today's services at tomorrow's cost. Our part-time positions are going to remain consistent with the prior year allocation. We also review pension contributions and updated our PARS OPEB trust contribution to $283,000, and there's also additional PARS pension trust allocation to $214,000 over the previous year. So as we keep every year, we recalculate that number for the council policy's goal to reach 1.5% of our unfunded liability. And there is more detail in our attachment 6, I believe, that goes over that policy. Contract services are coming in at $8.3 million. Again, we removed one-time expenditures and we applied a 2% inflationary increase. As we meet with the departments over the next few weeks, we'll review those the base budget numbers, and they may or may not come up with some budget adjustments or budget requests for these contract service line items. So materials and supplies, $4.8 million. Again, we removed previously approved one-time expenditures. And for this category, we applied a 1% inflationary increase to most of the items that make up this category. Transfers is at $3.9 million, and transfer is going to include a mix of a few things. We have $2 million in debt service fund, and that is what I mentioned earlier, that last year the general fund had a reprieve from the debt service payments, but this year the general fund will be paying for that, and that also includes the new lease payment for the fire engine, which starts on July 1st. The fire department is expecting that that engine to be delivered in 2026. The other items in this transfer category are transfers to internal service funds, the motor pool, risk management funds, and that is to cover the updated insurance premiums for both workers' comp and general liability, as well as the increased personnel costs. So those transfer out to transfer in of the general funds portion of some of those internal service funds to cover the personnel costs. $50,000 of this $3.9 million is a general fund transfer towards the CIP program for the annex lighting project. The Public Works Department will go over in detail the CIP project list, but this is the only one at this time that is funded by the general fund. All right, so in this slide, you'll see the general fund base budget and the structure that we mentioned earlier. Without the budget strategy number 1, the general fund would have been at a $3.2 million deficit, as you see by the red oval there. But reallocating $3.7 million of the projected excess ERAF will bring the general fund to provide $557,000 in potential available for potential council priorities in order to be allocated. So this is a part of the strategy that we presented to you in Budget Study Session 1, and we wanted to visually provide the impact that you're seeing to that strategy here. Let's see. And a few of the other funds that are worth, or that we're highlighting here, are the enterprise funds, which consists of sewer, wastewater, and beach parking funds. The total for this category in expenditure budget is $37.9 million, which makes up 35% of the city's overall expenditure budget. The sewer charges include a 3.5% previously approved rate over their rate structure, and that amounts to about $22.3 million. The Finance and Public Works Department will be bringing back the sewer rates for approval in June, as the annual rates need to be approved in order to put them on the property tax roll. At that time, we will also look at, continue to look at and assess and evaluate the sewer revenue. Operating expenditures include the same inflationary-based budget assumption as the general fund, and this portion of the salary and benefits for these funds come out to about $5.8 million, which is 30.5 FTE directly attributed to the sewer fund. Special revenue and capital funds are used to account for some of those special revenue sources. In this portion of categories, we have $7.8 million that represents about 6.5% of the city's total budget. We will go into detail with the next budget study session, where you'll see a breakdown of these items further. The internal service funds account for their citywide services on cost reimbursement basis. They accommodate the motor pool, employee benefits, risk management, as we mentioned earlier, and they're supported by the funds that receive these benefits. So for the 25-26 budget, the category is estimated at $6.5 million, which is 6% of the city's budget. And lastly, of the other funds, we have the debt service fund, as we had mentioned earlier. That category for this year is $2.6 million, or 2.4% above the city's previous year's budget. All right, and we're going to be handing it over to the Public Works team to go over the capital improvement program.
Good evening. I'd like to start off with our capital improvement program, new non-discretionary projects requesting funding. The details of how the funding is broken down can be found on attachment 4, is packet page 131. So for our general capital projects, the first project I have here is the annual pavement striping and marking refresh project, and allocating $75,000. This annual project will refresh center lines, bike lanes, edge lines, crosswalks, stop bars, and more striping on city roads. And the next project is the fiscal year 2025-26 pavement resurfacing project, approximately $1.8 million. This project will rehabilitate the pavement along roads designated in the 5-year paving plan. It will also include pavement grinding for base repair, as well as installation of thermoplastic traffic striping, markings, and pavement markers. And this project was previously approved on March 24th, 2025, and anticipated starting in around June, July. And then the fiscal year 2025-26 concrete and ADA improvement project for $436,000. Improvement of ADA curb ramps in the vicinity of the yearly resurfacing project and associated sidewalk sections. And this project was also approved on March of 2025. And this project has already begun, and there's several ADA curb ramps in the corners which has already been installed in the city. And next we have the Esplanade full trash capture device, $1.6 million. And this installation of full trash capture device to improve stormwater quality and meet NPDES permit requirements. The project captures runoff from 31.4 acre tributary area, including Caltrans roadways. So because we're treating Caltrans roadways, Caltrans is contributing $1.44 million in grant funds for us, and the city is responsible for the remaining $160,000 for the design. And next is the annex lighting, which is the only project requesting for general fund of approximately $50,000. And this is to install solar streetlights at poles at the old wastewater treatment plant yard to provide lighting for field service vehicles at night. And then the last project for general capital projects is the Sharp Park Road slope erosion repair, $125,000 for the construction. This project will repair the slope erosion due to the storms at Sharp Park Road. And with that, I'll pass it to Dan Patton on the wastewater projects.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll begin talking about wastewater projects that are new non-discretionary projects requesting funding. First of all is the CCWRP, that's the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant Parking Lot Restoration Project for $100,000. And this will be to repave the parking lot at the plant. Next is the CCWRP Photovoltaic System Improvement Project for $150,000. This will be to replace aging solar panels and identifying areas for additional panel coverage and solar power generation at the facility. Next is the Crespi to Anza Sewer Replacement Project for $500,000. This project will be the replacement of a sewer main from the equalization basin along Crespi to the Pacifica State Beach Lot A, where it will then continue to the Linamar Pump Station. Next is the Pump Station and CCWRP Condition Assessment Update, and that'll be $450,000. And this study will be updating our current condition assessments and providing a roadmap for future capital improvement projects at the pump stations and at the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. Next is the Anza and Lindemar Stormwater Pump Station SCADA Connection and Improvements Project for $100,000. And this will be to implement a SCADA system that will allow us to better communicate with our two stormwater pump stations and connect it to the main software system overview that monitors and controls our sewer collection pump stations and the plant. Next up is the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant Piping Improvements Project for $625,000. This will replace several sludge pipelines, utility water, and plumbing at the CCWRP. The next is the easement rehabilitation and repair projects. So these will be to replace key sewer mains along easements that are along private property. Next is the sequencing batch reactor, or SBR, improvements feasibility study. This study will be identifying improvements to improve the performance and reduce the energy usage and maintenance costs of our SBRs, which are the main biological treatment at the wastewater plant. The Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant permit update for $30,000. This will be updating our Notice of Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDS permit. Moving on to ongoing core non-discretionary projects requesting new funding under wastewater. There were no general fund projects under this category. The San Pedro Creek and Pacifica State Beach Total Maximum Daily Load, or TMDL, monitoring plan best management plan. This will be to develop a TMDL monitoring and management plans for the San Pedro Creek. That's for $105,000. The collection system projects, these are ongoing for $500,000. These are ongoing maintenance and improvements projects for various needs in the sewer collection system. Next is the digesters, the ATAD, or I can't even see this word, and I've been working here for 2 years. Our aerobic digesters, which are one of a very unique process that not many plants have. They require some ongoing maintenance and continuous improvements. We finished up a large project at the digesters earlier this year. However, there are additional needs that still need to be addressed. Next up is the CCWRP pump replacement project. This is a for $50,000 is ongoing as-needed replacement of the pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. The Clara Creek and Wetlands Maintenance Project, this is ongoing maintenance of the Clara Creek wetlands to ensure that the habitat is maintained and invasive species are under control and that we still get flow leaving the Clara Creek Water Recycling Facility all the way out to the Pacific Ocean. Next, we have the CCWRP blower replacement project for $50,000. So this is ongoing purchases for work on the aging blowers and motors for the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. Thank you, Roland. CCWRP Rehabilitation Repair Project. This is just for other ongoing maintenance and improvements needed at the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. Next up is the Lateral Grant Assistance Program. So this will be incentives to residents to replace their privately owned sewer laterals. Have the ultraviolet disinfection system upgrade for $4.7 million. So this project is currently in construction. That's where I spent most of my day today working on this. So this project is to replace our ultraviolet disinfection system, which while it was one of the first on the West Coast when it was installed in 2000, it is at the end of its useful life and is being replaced with a much more efficient technology that'll significantly reduce our energy consumption and be much more easier to operate and maintain. And this project is scheduled for completion of construction in October of this year. Next is the CCWRP Process Optimization Project for $50,000, and these are various projects and tasks to improve our treatment efficiency and just to continually improve our process at the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. The CCWRP Electrical Condition Assessment Project for $50,000. These are continuous electrical improvements at the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. The Headworks Feasibility Improvements Project, $4.8 million. In this project, we'll be evaluating adding bar screening facilities, rehabilitating or repairing grit removal equipment, and providing a backup influent pipe or channel. This project is currently in design, and we are evaluating alternatives for further detailed design and then construction. Thank you. Next up is the force main condition assessment for $75,000. This will be to assess the force main, which connects the Sharp Park, Rockaway, and Linamar pump stations with the Clara Creek Water Recycling Plant. And this force main flows from approximately this building all the way down to the Linamar pump station. Nearly all of the wastewater generated in the city flows through this pipeline, and we want to make sure that we can address any maintenance issues and do that proactively. Next is the Linamar Pump Station Rehabilitation Repair Project. Now, this is currently under construction, and this will be to complete the work on the engine pump controls and various electrical work around the pump station. Next is the Rockaway Pump Station Rehabilitation and Repair Project for $375,000. And this will be the installation of a new backup generator. And this project is now in construction. We met with the contractor this morning. I'm really looking forward to it. One of the Sharp Park Pump Station Rehabilitation Repair Project for $179,000. And this project will provide electrical, structural, and HVAC or foul air improvements to the pump station, which is right beneath this building. The next is the collection system rehabilitation replacement projects, Valimar and Rockaway Beach Avenue for $4.2 million. So this project will be replacing approximately 30,000 linear feet of sewer mains in the Valimar neighborhoods and along Rockaway Beach Boulevard. This project is currently in design and will be if everything goes well, will be going into construction in the next fiscal year. CCWRP admin building elevator assessment for $120,000. This will be to repair the administration building elevator at the Calera Creek Water Recycling Plant and to make improvements to the elevator to meet current industry standards. And finally, the Linamar Peralta project for $100,000. These are improvements along Linamar and Peralta Boulevards, which may include pipe bursting of approximately 1,000 feet of pipeline and open trench replacement of approximately 500 feet of sanitary sewers along the alignment. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So again, the next step in the budget development process, once the council discuss the CIP, proposed CIP budget, we will bring it to Planning Commission for conformity with the general plan. So this meeting is scheduled for June 2nd, and then we'll return back to council with the main study session for the operating budget on June 9th. And as for the next steps, today we are not asking for any formal action from the council, but we definitely welcome your input on the base budget and the CIP plan. And again, the next step for the council will be June 9th study session when we will ask you to review and approve the city manager's proposed budget recommendations for the fiscal year 25-26. And the final step in the budget development process will be budget hearing and adoption on June 23rd. And that will conclude our budget process with the formal adoption of the operating and capital budget, as well as master fee schedule. And a few other resolutions will be in that packet for annual review of investment policy and things like that. So that actually concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Wright has a question.
First, I want to thank you all very much for
Right.
such a
Make sure your mic is right by your mouth, please.
such a big lift. It's a lot to put together this size of a budget encompassing this many different items, and I really appreciate it. Kevin, would you rather I direct questions to you or Yulia regarding the budget?
You can direct them to Ms. Carter, and if I need to jump in, I will.
Okay. I noticed in your report you said at existing staffing levels. What does that mean?
So that means that the base budget includes exactly the same number of staff and positions that is in the current year's budget. So I think we had it on the slide. It's 200.75 FTEs. So there is no addition to the staffing level.
And for a city our size, how does that relate, the 200.75?
I believe in the last, previous study sessions, we reported some of the previous studies that we've done, and the city, city of Pacifica is historically lower staffed than other agencies of our size. I believe, previously we quoted 23% below staffed, and I think this number improved a little bit over the last year, but still down 21%. So we're still talking about like 36 positions.
36 positions, 23%? Was that?
21%, I believe.
21%. And
Down
then,
from 23% previously.
and then in terms of their pay rate, how do we rate on that, on the average? Are we paying them at average market rate?
No, on average, city staff is below market, pretty much all positions are quite significantly below market. So that's another fact that we've discussed in the past.
Yeah, up to even 33% below market? Would you
Correct.
say that's fair?
It ranges by different classifications and positions from, I would say, like as low, from 5% below market all the way to 33%. I think that's the lowest.
Okay, so if we were to budget for an average level of staff, getting an average amount of pay, what would our structural deficit be, roughly, spitball?
That would require additional study, so we don't have this number to mention, but we are talking, I mean,
It's
if you...
okay, I did a
If your
rough
point
calculation.
is to, yes, correct, the base budget does not include all the staffing needs that are desired, all the budget needs that are desired, and all the CIP projects that are necessary. So we're talking about multi-million
Yeah.
number.
I did some rough calculations. I came up with about $10 to $12 million short, just to impress upon others what I consider to be an important priority, that this needs to be to address our renewable funding stuff at the appropriate time. Kevin, when is the appropriate time to address that?
Councilmember Wright, by that, do you mean in terms of just studying further what those numbers are, or because?
No, more about when do we get to talk about what are we going to do about it?
Well, you can start during this budget process. Actually, if we go back to the council's strategic planning process, we had information that I presented to sort of frame the downward spiral challenge that the city has, and how important looking years into the future for Pacifica's financial sustainability, how important that is to start those processes now. The strategic plan emphasizes that. The economic opportunity study emphasizes that. The council's budget strategy number 3 emphasizes that. And, we can really start digging into what those strategies need to be, what long-term revenue generating strategies need to be for the city this next fiscal year.
I'm dying to work on that with you. I'm dying to work on that with my fellow council people. I think this is super important because I think we all deserve that same level of service that the average city gets, because I don't think we're an average city. I don't think our staff does average work. I think our staff does more with less than any other city out there. You guys keep working miracles, and I appreciate it. I just want you to know I don't expect you to have to do that. I think it's my job to provide you with the tools to do the job. I feel like I'm not doing my job if I don't speak up about this kind of stuff.
Did you have any clarifying questions with regard to what was presented this evening?
I have one quick one for Public Works. With your solar panel changes, does that affect the rate that we're going to pay for electricity at all? Are we going to go from NIM 1 to NIM 3, or where, is that going to affect it at all, or is it going to be lateral?
This solar project would only replace some of the existing panels at the plant, which our plant is, while it's a very innovative facility, it's also very energy hungry. So everything would get, all the energy, additional energy that would get consumed by the equipment on site.
And so we'll stay at the same rate. By doing the change, it's not going to affect our rate plan.
No, and these panels, while we're looking at options, these would likely be owned and operated by the city. It wouldn't be with an external utility or like a sun-run type company.
Okay, because I own my own panels too at home, and if I did do work on them, it would change my rate plan. That's the reason I'm asking.
Okay.
But it's
Sorry.
okay. Your answer is sufficient.
Maybe I could better explain a little more. Right now, our panels, I don't have the exact numbers, but they offset potentially somewhere between 10 to 15% of our total energy used. So without having done the study yet, which is what the first step of this project will be, we can probably get that up a couple of percent, but it probably won't be a major percent. So I'm hoping that that project will pay itself off in the very near future, but we still need to do the study.
I appreciate the efforts to be energy conscious, and thank you for that. And then one more quick one for Kevin. I just got to find it. What levels of, like, do we realistically expect to get our VLF funds, or is that likely to be a non-starter? Any idea?
For the state's backfill for VLF in lieu. So it wasn't in the governor's first budget. The May revise comes out later in May, sometime soon. And given the state's newer challenges, some of which are related to the fires in Southern California and federal funding influences, I'm not optimistic about that. But on the sort of advocacy side, we have had some optimistic news about how our legislators have been, really working this topic. So we don't know. I can't say definitively whether the backfill will be in there for this year, which covers the shortfall, the amount from 2 years ago, which is estimated at 2.3 million. So thus the budget strategy to plan on reserves to fill that while this issue gets sorted out. But last year at this time, we were also pessimistic about whether it was the backfill was going to be in there, and it ended up being in there. So there was a lot of difficult work that went on in Sacramento to make that happen, and we're hoping for the same this year. I just don't know.
Then I'd just like to close by saying thanks again for all the hard work. Really well done presentation, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other, Mayor Pro Tem. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I just have a few questions before public comment. So I know I asked this question the last time, but I'm sorry if I didn't get to go back through my notes. So we used to put some of the ERAF in the disaster accounting fund, and then half in the housing fund, more or less, minus the donations to nonprofits. Can you remind me how much? So we use the disaster accounting fund, like, there are things that, like a re-roofing or something that's not in a CIP, but that is suddenly needed, right? And so chances are we're going to need some of that money again in the next year. So remind me about how much we spent.
We spent, or we used to put in the fund?
No, how much we spent on disaster projects, roughly. And if you don't have it today, we can talk about that again.
So Marisol is going to look up the actual expense in the fund, but just to your point, yes, the council's policy was to allocate excess ERA 50-50 between Housing Action Fund and disaster accounting.
Right.
So last year it was 1.6 and 1.6 million in both funds, and that's kind of what we we're projecting, or what we are putting in general fund instead.
Right. Yeah.
And for the actuals last year,
And if you need a few minutes, I can go on to something else. I don't want to.
yeah, so it looks like the last fiscal year, 23-24 actual year, what was expended from the fund was 2.3 million.
229,000, okay.
And if I may, Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, I think that perhaps $1 million of that amount might have been towards the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project. I don't think that was all disaster related. There was a breach or two of the seawall that was emergency funding there. I think there was a roof repair, but I'm recalling, and we can check there.
So it looks like it was a transfer, yeah.
Yeah.
So $1 million for Beach Boulevard, and then the rest. Okay.
So Fund 38, the Disaster Accounting Fund, is used for those emergencies, but it's also each year strategically used for proactive work to prevent emergencies, and that's a specific action that the council takes in the budget approval.
Right.
So been various things like that.
And that's where I'm concerned, if we're not putting any money in this year and, we're trying to figure out how much is a good amount in case we do have a disaster to make sure we have.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that at the base budget level, so the projected fund balance in the disaster accounting fund is 6.6 million. And you're completely correct, Councilmember. So disaster can strike any time and it could be really bad, but the 6.6 million fund balance is.
Okay. But it's obviously not something we can continue forever not funding that.
Correct.
We're taking money out.
Yes, and that's what we try to make clear in the staff report. So allocating excess ERAF in the general fund is not the sustainable strategy long term.
Yeah, and that's what's concerning because, it seems like, with where we're heading financially, it's worse and worse and not better. So, besides salaries, we have a lot of other expenses we're going to have to try to come up with. Okay, and then, so the excess ERAF, is that something that you want input on in terms of other nonprofits tonight, or would that be discussed?
Yes, we would like to get your input. So if you want to, again, as Marisol mentioned, we brought it back to the status quo because the council voted last time for these two allocations being one time, so we removed them. But if the council wishes to continue funding them or change the allocation for existing nonprofits, we would like to have your input today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And then just a couple of public works CIP questions. So I know in the last couple of years we've been investing a lot on the wastewater treatment plant. I know it's sort of at the end of its life and a lot needs replacing, refurbishing. Do you see some of those expenses dwindling down as we do that work, or is this really an ongoing, a piece at a time in perpetuity that on the plant itself, not all the other little pieces, but.
And right now, we have one of the largest projects at the plant with the UV project is the largest project we've had since the plant itself was constructed, and the Headworks project will also be likely similar scale. After that, I don't expect anything to be that large in the near future, but there will be constant repair of pumps, blowers, equipment, that
are just being used all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so there is going to be the next, I would assume probably about 3 years is going to be extraordinarily busy, both in resources and I will not get bored, let's just say. But I can see probably after that, we've taken care of a lot of the major items.
Okay. Thank you. And there seems to be a lot of money that's growing in the pot for sewer lateral replacements. I'm just curious how much, and I just want to educate the public that there's grant money out there if you need to replace your lateral, and trying to educate people, especially in Rockaway and Valimar, where we're doing the work in the streets, that's a really good time to connect in. So it might be helpful for you to talk more to that, but I'm just like, how much was used last year for sewer lateral replacements, just as a ballpark?
I don't know the exact numbers. If I remember right, we had about $50,000 budgeted somewhere in that range, and we are trying to, especially with the Valimar project coming up, we do want to increase that to encourage residents both in those neighborhoods and everywhere else in the city. As part of the Valimar project, we will be having several public meetings to educate the residents on the project and to provide information on the lateral grant program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great, thank you. And then I appreciate you working on sewers and easements. That wasn't something I was aware of. I know a year or two ago, there turned out to be one sewer main under a building, and are there any more of those issues that you're aware of now?
I don't know of any specific lines that are going under buildings, but I can't conclusively say that there aren't any. But our hope as part of the easement project, our hope is to identify some of the easement projects which are particularly laborally intensive and impact residents to fix those problems so we do not have to work in their yards as often as we currently do.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Myra, did you have any questions at this point in time?
Because, did you know how much is the permit for if you need to replace your sewer ladder? Just a crazy question out there.
Not crazy at all.
If you had to do if you had to do the inspection and then they said that you needed to replace, to refurbish, is that refurbish or just to?
It's typically complete replacement.
A replacement, okay.
I'd say numbers on it can be, sometimes it's under 10,000. I've heard that residents have gotten quotes for as high as 20,000 for more complex projects, or just a contractor quoted them as a higher cost. That's total cost. The permits, I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, it's okay.
I apologize.
And then how much is the fund? Do we have a grant that we give out to people if they need to replace it? How much is that?
The lateral grants are typically $3,000.
$3,000, okay. Thank you.
And the amount that you're proposing in this budget to set aside is 200,000?
That's correct.
Mhm. But there's a balance of 480, so there's 680,000 available.
For 3,000 each.
So, yeah, it's one of the questions maybe when you come back to us, if we want to increase the incentive, if you're finding that people aren't really taking advantage of the 3,000, so that we can try to get more of that work done.
Okay. Are you finished? Councilmember Beer.
I just have a little clarifying question about the Crespi to Anza equalization project. I think I always get nervous. Anytime that comes up, it's like, oh no, what's happening now? So maybe you could just explain just a little bit. Thanks.
Yes, so there is the line that gets pumped out of the equalization basin. It goes down Crespi Boulevard. It goes under the bike path along the dunes, and then it connects into another line that goes under Lot B to Lot A, and then into the Linamar pump station. The southern half of this, or section of this pipeline, was replaced several years ago. This is before I worked at the city. And we know the portion that's under the sand dunes is similar age, similar construction, so the thought is to be more proactive and replace it before there is an issue, as this is a sensitive area both for habitat and for public use. And so we'll be looking at potential alternatives for, can it go another alignment that isn't under the sand dunes, or best ways to replace it or reinforce it with minimizing impacts on habitat and the public.
Great, thank you.
So you're speaking of the snowy plover habitat on that side?
Exactly.
Yeah. So just as a quick question on that, would this type of work, we're talking about the budget for it here, but in preparing to do that kind of work, is there an environmental element that you do, thinking about nesting times and all of that? So
yes, these are the exact things we want to look at first, and considering what our options are for replacing it. And habitat was both for a snowy plover. I know there are several species of native plants, which I do not know off the top of my head. And then it's a very busy thoroughfare. I use that path myself, and I know many in the room do.
Great. Okay. Really quick, I had one question on packet page 113, attachment 4. Can you describe what the purpose of this list is? this other previously approved active CIP projects. So is it just to enumerate the things that we've done, or we're saying these are things we're not planning to fund in the coming fiscal 25, 26? Because I know there was an edit where it says non-discretionary ongoing projects not requesting fiscal year 24, 25 funding. We are editing that to 25, 26. So you're saying all these things on this list we're not funding, correct? Packet page 133.
So that's correct in that, we are not requesting fiscal year funding for this fiscal year, so 25, 26 funding. For example, one project on here is the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project, and we are currently not requesting funding for this fiscal year for this project. We have a couple of grant applications going into the Department of Boating and Waterways, which those staff reports have requested for some local match with those grants. It's not to say that these projects are not moving forward. It's just that we don't need funding at this time because it has been previously allocated with our last year's budgeting.
Okay, and so in looking this list over, we should assume the same. They're either not requesting funding because they're funded, or because we don't have the capacity to do the work, or without a description, I'm just not sure. I want to make sure I understand the purpose of the list.
I think it's just to show, in the full CIP report, we will have a form for every single project.
Yes.
And you will be able to see in those forms which projects are, how much project budget has been, allocated already. When, beyond this upcoming fiscal year, because that projects out 5 fiscal years, when do we anticipate more funding to come into the project? And so the ones that do not have funding are actually on packet page 135, and that is the unfunded capital projects. So those are the ones that cannot start unless we allocate funding onto that project, onto those projects.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to follow up on something Mayor Beckmeyer, and you were just saying, so I remember seeing those forms for each project with the CIP. Is that something coming to us later, or?
It will be presented together with both budgets will be presented for the adoption.
Okay. So on the 9th, for the June 9th meeting?
No,
or
the
June 23rd?
23rd, yes.
Okay.
That's when you will see the actual proposed documents.
Okay, so we can ask more specific questions then if we need to. Okay, and then just back to the disaster fund for a minute, talking about the grant for the Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project. So there's one grant that we're going to hear from in June, and if I remember correctly, if we get that, we have to come up with $1 million or $1.3 million as a matching fund for that at that time. Is that correct?
That is correct. We will have to come back to execute the agreements, and then at that time we will decide if we want to allocate disaster accounting fund for the local match. So there's 2 grants, and both of them, for the application was brought to City Council. There was the Phase 2B, and that was the one for last year for the environmental documentation. And then also the most recent one was for Phase 2C for the completion of the design and for permitting.
Okay.
So both of those will be brought back when we have to execute the agreement and get that approved.
And that's a big chunk that potentially coming out of our disaster. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Public comment. I have one card, but anyone is welcome to submit a card. Cliff Lawrence.
Okay, just a quick question. Just following upon the news. So do we have a plan to deal with what is believed to be an expected recession? How would that affect our budget?
Thank you. Assistant City Clerk, do we have any callers on the phone? None at this time. I see another card. Remy? Remy Chan.
Hello, thank you, Honorable City Council. Want to thank the staff for putting together such a thorough budget. Did have a couple of questions on it. Is one, I guess, given the things going on in the federal government that are unfortunate, how does that affect the budget? And secondly, I don't see any additional revenue streams that are planned. So, one of the things, we're in one of the most beautiful parts of the country and beautiful scenery we just talked about at the beginning of this meeting, and I'm wondering, what the city is doing to encourage more hotel development here, because the transit occupancy tax really can add a lot of revenue. And, I already see a lot of tourists out here, on Maury Point the other day, and, enjoying the fruits of what Peter has and his team has done. So if we can get more hotels here, that would, we already have the visitors. We just need them to stay here and pay taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing any, and no one on the phone. I'll write a closed public comment, bring it back to the council for discussion. And we do not have, we accept the report. We don't have a motion tonight for this. Mayor, Councilwoman Beer.
Oh, I was
please.
just wondering if there was any thoughts about the recession question and the federal government, things that are going on there. I know we're talking about it at county level, everybody's talking about it, so.
So the numbers you see before you today is a base budget only.
Yeah.
So typically, if we were to talk about significant enhancements to services, it's absolutely prudent strategy to test it, what will happen or how sustainable it is to test it with the recession. And to give you an example, like if we were, hypothetically speaking, to add 5 firefighters or police officers, right? So this is ongoing expense would be tested by the recession. And doing this kind of analysis in the past, well, typically you look at like 2 to 4 previous recessions and see how the city responded to those and capture those assumptions and see where your revenues and expenditures will fall and whether it's a sustainable way to enhance those services. So this is not what's on the agenda today. So we are just continue status quo base budget with the revenues and expenditures as they are today.
I did want to note, you mentioned it in your presentation on the general fund, but there is an expended reduction in temporary occupancy tax, kind of following up on your point. It's related to the forthcoming changes and the impact of the short-term rental ordinance that will be coming to the council for a final approval soon. And so for the coming fiscal year 25, 26, you anticipate 620,000 less than our revised budget amount for this fiscal year.
Correct. So that's the reduction.
Okay. And you mentioned the county assessor's office will release the update on assessed value, is the assessment or the projected tax revenues, is that correct? After July 1, did you say?
Yes, so after July 1st, they review for additional CPI above the 2% base projection that we have in the budget now. And then we will review what those projections look like given the exemptions or any corrections over the previous year that they include in there to see if we should adjust our budget at mid-year.
And so typically, you said after July 1, does it typically like right after or sometime in the coming months after July?
I believe it's sometime in the coming month of July, yes.
Okay. I had a question on the CPI project for replacing 30,000 linear feet of sewer mains in Rockaway and Valamar. Do we have an approximate timing on that? I realize this isn't fully the purpose of tonight's presentation. I just want to get in my mind what months we're thinking about.
So right now the project's we're in the middle of design, and parts of it could be bid out, I'd say as soon as this fall, or as soon as, I'd say by the last quarter of the year, worst case, early next year. My hope is that it'll be more on the earlier side.
Yeah, because of rain, right? Okay, and in the course of doing that, I recognize that the purpose of the design that you're doing is for the sewer mains that go down the street. But at the same time, as we just did work in Lindemar, finishing up work in Lindemar, we had a community meeting, there was a postcard, there were a few ways of reaching out to the community, following on Mayor Pro Tem's points. In that analysis, is there any look to or any way of guesstimating, is there a rule of thumb, how many of those dwelling units you anticipate would need to be looking at doing their lateral? Or conversely, we have data that shows, oh, look, 25% have been done within the last 10 years or something like that. Do we have any way of knowing?
We should have some data. I don't know off the top of my head, but I believe we would have some records of laterals that have been replaced within the last few years. But again, that is one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city, so I anticipate there are a number that need replacement.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just in Lindemar, I can tell you just recently, in the last couple of weeks, work was done, and the feedback I got was, oh, I wish we would have known this was happening. We would have wanted to do our lateral at the time. And I was like, because I know the work that was done. And they acknowledged having heard about it, you know. And so I'm thinking about, as that time approaches, thinking about reaching out to community, neighborhood groups that we happen to know a couple of in those particular neighborhoods, maybe incorporating the help of council members and giving us a heads up. Perhaps city manager, it would be worth having a little talk about it at the council meeting in addition to the public meeting, because City Clerk Coffey and I attended that meeting, and it was not well attended, frankly. The people that were there were really interested in it, but it wasn't, maybe we can use PCT to help get the word out. Maybe we can use some social media stories. I don't know. I just feel like if people really understood the opportunity that they have when that rolls around, if it's been nagging in the back of their mind, oh yeah, I probably need to look at that, and they realize that jumping on with the contractor that is doing the work for the city affords that several $1,000s savings. And in addition to your points, both of you, on the lateral grant program that we have, it can be really, really productive. And I'd just love to see more of our citizens take advantage of that.
There is one thing that if they have to do, when they're doing the repavement, if they do the sewer ladder, it costs them more money if the road has been repaved.
Right.
So if they do it before or within that time, will be cheaper.
Right, and I know we asked about that before we had on consent the list of streets that are in our 25, 26 slurry seal and Cape Seal and all that. We'll have to think about ways of publicizing that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we send out postcards already also, or?
I know that's very expensive. It's $7,000.
Well, that's for the whole
city manager.
That's for the whole city, but this is 2 neighborhoods, and we have a whole bunch of money in that fund, so, right?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean,
Yeah.
we do need to do.
The postcards we sent out for the Lower Lindemar project were very affordable. I think we sent out several rounds, and
Okay.
I'm going to say it was $1,500 for all of them, and Rockaway Beach and Valimar, similar number of residents. I would assume that we can send out several postcards. As you mentioned, social media, I know that the advantage of the Valimar and the Rockaway Beach Boulevard is, I know in next door those are grouped as neighborhoods, whereas the lower Lindemar neighborhood, it would have been, the challenge of social media is it would have been very hard to target just the residents that were in the work area. There would have been a lot of notifications going to people who weren't, so it was a little bit more challenging. That's not an issue we're going to have with these two neighborhoods, plus there are other lessons learned. Yes, and we will be, as the project progresses, we will be reaching out to council and any recommended neighborhood groups. And yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Great, we are too. You mentioned the 4.5 million ultraviolet disinfection system upgrade that we're currently working on with wastewater treatment plant. And is there another one you said is forthcoming? Or this is the big one for the time being?
This is the big one that's in construction. The next project is going to be the Headworks project. And that we anticipate it's going to be similar size, although we're still in the early analysis phase of design and looking at several alternatives. Once our alternatives are selected, that'll best meet the plant's objectives for treatment, operability, maintainability, constructability. That's a lot of abilities. We'll select it and we'll have a more accurate estimate.
And you don't anticipate that in 25, 26, that's 26, 27? You're thinking, or you don't know yet?
It's probably still too soon to say. I'd say probably the major construction will still be over the next several years.
Several years, okay. Also on the order of 4 million-ish, maybe more?
With the information we have now, I'd say that's a good estimate, although I think that I'm hoping in a few months to have a much better number.
That would be great to keep us apprised of that. And I'm looking forward to cutting the ribbon on the, the UV upgrade in October.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, fantastic. All right. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, one question I forgot to ask before. So the San Pedro Creek TDML testing, so total daily maximum load, I believe, and that's about bacterial testing in the creek and at San Pedro Beach for, and that's for sewage in particular types of bacteria. Is that why it's in the wastewater budget?
So wastewater was included to pay for some of the TMDL testing because of the sewer lateral leaks and infiltration that was happening that contributed to some of the bacteria in the San Pedro Creek.
Oh, okay. I had asked a question that the city manager answered to us. And so this testing is, it says these studies are set to conclude at the end of the year, but to date, bacteria levels have not improved. And then it also says the funding is primarily through property-related fees. So I'm just, and I don't know if we know the answers now, but is this something that we can extend? Is this something that just rolls off automatically on property taxes, or if we wanted to continue the program since the issue hasn't been solved? And anyway, I'd just love to learn more about that. I know there's the San Pedro Creek Water Coalition group that's also doing testing and trying to identify, more specific sources, and just want to make sure we're continuing to try to solve the problems.
So, yeah, because it's assessed with parcel tax, the fees for the MPDS parcel tax will continue to come in. In terms of what the water board will do at the conclusion of the end of this year, well, we don't know. If they say that we have to continue to do testing, then we will need to continue to do testing, and we've had a contract that came to City Council for approval, and we will bring that back for additional funding for additional testing.
And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'd love to get a presentation about what the RCD has learned as they're doing that work.
Definitely. I was going to ask about that because I think if I remember that work was intended to do some DNA testing to try to look at sources or re-look at some of that they've looked at in the past. I agree. I would like to have an update on that because when we get ready to go before, I presume, if this is ending, that somebody's going before the San Francisco Bay Regional Water Control Board at sometime this year. I think we should be prepared for that.
Sorry, is the question, will we
Yeah,
be bringing it
will
up?
we be part of that presentation, or how does that work when these type of studies come to conclusion?
My understanding, RCD represents many agencies, and they will be the ones leading the efforts. And yeah, in terms of them presenting to our city council with a presentation, that can definitely be done.
I think that would be really helpful. Okay.
And then just a couple of things, some outstanding questions. So the excess ERAF, I would love for us to consider 5,000 for Pride again. And, you know, I don't know if these are things that you need us to, you know, have 3 votes on to continue now, if that's what you're looking for. I see 2 heads nodding.
I support
3
that.
heads nodding.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I support that too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And then,
What about?
so you said that there's, you know, currently 557,000 left of potential excess ERAF for council priorities. And I know you're going to bring some of that back to us, but just not knowing what's happening with the recession and with money that we might need, I mean, I would really like us not to spend all that.
Well, I think the city manager is going to be bringing a budget recommendation forward. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and I mean, regarding economic impacts that we don't control, that's why we have other protective reserves as well. I mean, there's the disaster accounting fund is a particular fund. That's not really a reserve, and Ms. Carter or Gomez can speak to the other reserves that we have for these economic emergencies, one of which we identified, you know, related to our VLF in lieu. So, you know, that's really what those other prudent reserves exist for. So the question will be, you know, there until we get into the detail from the departments, there are requests that are going to come that are critical to implementing particular strategies that have been identified in the strategic plan, and we have to evaluate those on how can we afford those. And that 500,000 of excess ERAF that's left there, you know, that will be the discussion point or sort of the decision point for the council is, do we not fund some of these other strategies in order for that money to, you know, go back into the general fund or go to the disaster accounting fund or go to the housing action fund if there's any of that left over.
Okay.
That's the priority setting that the
Okay,
council gets to
so that would
decide.
be at the next meeting. We don't,
Right.
we're not
Yeah.
planning on that now. Okay, thank you.
I would like to propose that we consider some funding for FogFest. It's back more on its feet than it had been, but I think we want it to continue strong.
Yeah, I think last year it was like emergency, almost emergency.
It was.
Support, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you think?
Same as last year.
Do you think?
It was a lot last year because we wrote off some expenses and then gave more too. Last year, they weren't an organized nonprofit yet. Do we have an update, like, on how they're doing? And instead of us just guessing, I mean, I know you know a lot because of your husband, obviously, but
You'd think I
it might be
would.
nice to have a little presentation and a request as opposed to us just coming up with something.
Right. So
great.
I want to make a note that I'm interested in some funding for FogFest.
Yeah.
And I think that's an appropriate series of questions that we can ask them. Can
It
we?
would seem appropriate to me to budget for the same thing that we did last year and then specify that at the appropriate time, just not being the appropriate time.
So 25 is what you're
Just
saying?
from a budgetary placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
We're not approving it.
Right.
We're just placeholding it in the budget, which is basically what it is we're doing.
Okay. I can live with that placeholder for the time being. Yeah?
And
I can't see you. Are you okay with that, Myra? Yes?
Yeah,
it was mentioned that I don't have any information
Yeah.
as of today about Fog Fest status or what funding needs might be. So I think I would need to inquire with them and hear what it's looking like. And then there's sort of the question that I remember us talking about it last year, sort of the cart before the horse. I mean, they have sponsorship work to do and fundraising work
they're
to
definitely
do.
doing it.
They're doing
Right?
it, trust me.
And so you maybe want to withhold what your decision would be about the funding to see how that goes.
Yeah, I would rather, I'm just knowing that the only capital improvements that we've taken out is $50,000, for all of the city's capital improvements, and to give half of that, without any presentation or anything, that's
I'm
hard
actually
for
working
me.
with Rihanna tomorrow, so I'll have an opportunity to spend like all day with her. I'm not able to go to the meetings because I am in school. And so I'm really not a good liaison if I can't go to the meetings. And so I don't know if we can, talk about that. But she does send me notes and tries to keep me in the loop. But it'll be helpful because I'll be spending all day with her. And she's the one who's working on the sponsorships.
What would your preference be, city manager? I know you want to wait and see, but we also have a budget timeline, and we don't want to not address it along the lines of what the city's, as Greg was suggesting, putting a placeholder at this time, indicating interest, and then having a presentation from them. What is your intent?
Well, I guess what I might recommend is that the council has indicated openness to assisting again this year, but leave it at that. And we find out more information from Fog Fest, what they're doing, what they have planned for all of their fundraising and, sponsorship raising work. And you don't need to make a decision until, later in June, so we can find out information in the meantime, request that information from them, and we can be prepared with that. And then, they could also speak at the hearing.
So as a staff function, you're saying?
Yeah, staff function, and council's not committing to, we're going to give you this amount of money, so then the organization knows they don't need to raise that amount of money if the city's going to, that's the disincentive component to it, but not that they would approach it that way, but there's that possibility, so.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then the other one I wanted to check in about is the bridge
Oh, right.
in Rockaway.
I did appreciate the answer that we received.
Right.
I did, because that's information I can share.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we just had a council question and discussion about that on paper, and a comment from the public about the state of the bridge in Rockaway and the fact that it's had to have been closed. So it looked like a $357,000 grant is what you're applying for for repair, a replacement?
That's right. I believe we've already submitted the pre-application for the Coastal Conservancy for the Rockaway Bridge. And so let me back up and say, so this is a bridge in the coastal zone that is part of the coastal trail that crosses a seasonal creek. It is a complex project. It is a safety project. It's not safe for it to be open for the public. And while some members of the public may look at something like that and say, oh, how difficult could it be? It is an extremely complex project, and it's going to be an expensive project, hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace the bridge. It needs to be replaced. And it is also the type of project that is precisely what fits into our coastal assets, infrastructure, access improvements, piece of the LCLUP that we're obligated to, and furthers all of the mission in the coastal zone and coastal access. So it is a pretty promising project for grant funding. And, unfortunately, though, these take time, and there will be complex environmental review for this project as well, unless we can confirm an exemption, but I'm not sure about that. So, there's all of those components. And at this point, my recommendation would be, we need to go for grant money for this. And if we don't get the grant money, then come back and revisit it. And so, that's the recommended approach currently, and just really appreciate patience of the community. It's an inconvenience, but it is a complex project, and we want to make sure to do it right.
And is it presently in our CIP as an unfunded project?
We have not included it in there on that list, but we can include it with the report just so we don't forget about it.
It seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
Even with everything you said, Kevin, I agree with you 100% about it fitting in with our coastal adaptation plans and all of our coastal management plans under the LCLUP, but I do think that we do need to add it, whatever the funding source.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of questions from the public, so just that it's on the list, I know it's on our radar.
Right.
That's helpful. And can I just ask, so that's completely city responsibility? It's not part of mitigation access from another adjacent project, or as far as you know?
No, I'm not. I believe it is the city's responsibility. We can get more information from the project manager who's working on it for you. John Mullins, he was the acting public works director, and he was putting the whole grant application together. So he has the most information on this project, and we can get that for you. But I believe it is the city's responsibility.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, council members, anything further on this item? Seeing none, let's move on to our next item, number 9, appointments to the Beautification Advisory Committee. Oh, thank you very much for that presentation.
You're welcome.
Enduring all of our questions.
I just wanted to give a quick shout out as well to our Deputy Finance Director, Lucy, and our financial analyst, Stephanie Coy, who's also helps us, nice big project teamwork and all that. So thank you.
It is a team. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good team. Okay, so we'll be turning our attention, council, to the appointments to the Beautification Advisory Committee, the Measure Y Citizens Oversight Committee, Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee, and Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission. And we have a staff report from our city clerk, Sarah Coffey.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We recently recruited for the following committees and commissions. For the Beautification Advisory Committee, for one position for a partial term to expire March 2027. For up to 3 positions on the Measure Y Citizens Oversight Committee. That's the oversight committee that's looking at the sales tax, the half-cent sales tax measure that was passed, Measure Y. For full 4-year terms to expire May 2029. The Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee for 3 positions for full 4-year terms to expire May 2029, and for 1 position on the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission for a full 4-year term to expire May 2029. The recruitment notices were published and posted on March 27th, and were advertised in the San Mateo Daily Journal, as well as the weekly Connect with Pacifica e-newsletter and on the city's social media accounts. The application deadline of April 18th was extended one time to April 25th. The application period closed on April 25th. And the City Council held a special City Council meeting to conduct interviews with the applicants on May 5th. The timely applications and those under consideration for the applicants for each of the committees was attached to the staff report as attachments, and I can bring those up for the council's consideration. The council received the city received 3 timely applications for the Measure Y Citizens Oversight Committee, 1 timely application for the Beautification Advisory Committee, 6 timely applications for the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee, of which 1 applicant withdrew the application, so there were 5 eligible applicants for OSPAC, and received 3 timely applications for the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission. For council's consideration, the Pacifica Municipal Code for membership eligibility for the committees and commissions sets forth guidelines that the membership on the commissions would represent a broad cross-section of the entire community, and to be eligible for appointment, a person shall be a qualified elector of the city except for the following: members who are under the age of 18 can be considered for appointment if they're residents of the city. And members of committees who are not qualified electors or residents of the city may be considered where they're deemed to be able to provide some expertise, or where they may represent a section of the community, such as commercial. With that, I invite any council questions, and following questions and public comments, the council may deliberate for the applicants that were received for each, in order to name a particular candidate that they would like to appoint for each committee commission, with a motion and second and vote.
Does anyone have a question for the city clerk on any of that? I don't have any cards, just to let the council know. I don't have any public comment cards on this item. And you're waving your hand? We have 2. There are 2 forthcoming? Okay. Maybe just one? If you would just fill out a card before you leave. Thank you.
Sorry, I owe you 2. Yeah, I wasn't anticipating this because I haven't been up on everything, but I kind of noticed the name. I think it's the developer, and the developer has come before Open Space before for presenting something for development. I'm just concerned that I know you folks too have to recuse yourself at times. I'm just concerned about that type of thing, and that's only one name I recognize, but I don't know about the others. Anyway, that's concerning.
Thank you. And Remy Chan, please go ahead.
Hello. I noticed for the Open Space Committee that Aaron Reff is up for renewal, and I serve on the committee with him, and he's been great. He did the wonderful brand new bench that we worked on the Fassler Trail Committee. Anybody's been up there, you should check it out. It's beautiful. I think he was sharing pictures earlier. So definitely would advocate for him to continue to be on the committee. And I also see Mark Hubble is over here, and he was named by Pete a little bit earlier in this meeting, and I know he's been really an advocate of open space, so I'd advocate for both Aaron and Mark. And I did notice the developer on there, and I would have the same concerns as Sue on that he might have to recuse himself a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any calls? No calls. Then I will close public comment and bring back to council. Who would like to proceed?
I can do the easy one for beautification because we have 1 spot and 1 name, and Taylor Seabaugh is interviewed twice now, I think, for that position, and I think he'd be a really good fit.
You're moving Taylor Seabaugh?
Yeah, I
for,
didn't want to move until we talk, but
Okay.
yes, since there's nothing
I'll
else, I
second.
moved.
any discussion of that motion? And second? Okay, please vote.
And for the motion to appoint Taylor Seabaugh for the Beautification Advisory Committee made by Mayor Pro Tem Bowles and seconded by Councilmember Beer passes unanimously.
Well, I would be happy to address how impressed I was with the Measure Y applicants that we got the chance to interview. I was moved by how well prepared they were.
Are you talking about Measure Y now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am thrilled that we have that quality of people interested in serving in the city of Pacifica. And I would move we appoint both people that we interviewed.
Well, we have on our list up to 3 full 4-year terms and 3 names. Is that correct, City Clerk?
That's correct.
And Nicholas is the one who was not at the interview? Sorry, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the interview, so I'm asking more questions.
What did you say?
Well, Greg just said that you interviewed 2, so not 3 candidates, so who?
That's correct.
Was
Do not-
Nicholas there at the interview? I don't remember.
We need names.
Nicholas Human notified the city clerk's office that he was not able to attend the interview because of a scheduling conflict with the date and time that was scheduled.
And he's currently serving on the committee.
He reapplied to continue to serve on the committee, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
Names?
Nicholas, Carey, and David.
Do any full names, City Attorney?
No, we need clarity for the motion. So
Okay.
is the motion to make 2 appointments to,
3.
I'll move we appoint all 3 then.
okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
So much for easy.
And the motion to
They were
appoint
very, very qualified.
Dave
folks.
Griesbach, Nicholas Human, and Carrie Scamizzi to the 3 full 4-year terms to expire May 2029 on the Measure Y Citizens Oversight Committee. The motion was made by Councilmember Wright, seconded by Councilmember Beer, passes unanimously.
And Greg, yeah, thank you for saying that, because it was really incredible.
Yeah.
What they brought to the table, so.
And I would also like to speak very loudly and clearly for Mark. He's a man of integrity, character, and has a great love for the city and has been serving us in many different capacities and has been looking for an opportunity to serve. I would definitely support him.
So we're talking about OSPAC now, just to let everybody know.
He's moved on.
Yes. Just to let the
Can't
public
tell
know.
the players
what
without a
you're talking
program. Okay, we are now moving on to Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee.
And Aaron, I would also support as well, and Erica, I would support.
And that's exactly where I was leaning as well. Mark, Aaron, and Erica.
And I'm good with those.
So you going for what?
We have 3, we can appoint 3.
Okay.
And Greg is suggesting, and Mary is agreeing, Mark,
and Erica.
Aaron, and Erica.
I'm okay
And-
with that.
All right, motion by Councilmember,
We need a motion. I didn't.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Mark, Aaron, and Erica.
And I second that one.
we have a motion and a second, please vote.
And with the motion to appoint Mark Hubble, Aaron Reef, and Erica Wool to the full 4-year terms to expire May 2029 on the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee. Motion was made by Councilmember Wright, seconded by Councilmember Espinoza, and that motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and that brings us to our last appointment of the evening, which will be the appointment to Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission. We have 3 applicants, 2 of whom interviewed in person, and we have 1 seat available, 1 full 4-year term. I have no lights.
How come you are looking at me?
If nobody else wants to speak,
I'm just,
I'd be
in
happy to
case you
speak.
had,
Well,
now I have a
You were
light.
advocating last time.
well, last time you left me down, so anyhow, so do you want me to make a motion?
We're just discussing.
Discussing.
We're just discussing.
Okay, I do wanted to see this person on this committee. He has been trying a couple of times, and I feel like we need to kind of diversify the committees, and this person is, we have, oh, Mike Hudson, I don't know,
Watkins.
Watkins. And he has been very helpful in the community. So, and I would like to see him being part of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't disagree. However, I also very much appreciated the way that Mr. Wakenight interviewed. They both bring a lot to the table. One brings more experience, and there's a lot to be said for that. And the other one is frankly a youth representative. I was very impressed with the outreach that staff did and the number of younger applicants that we started to get. And I'm happy about that, and I think that's a good thing.
But not youth. Just, I see everyone looking. So he's
Yeah.
not a youth.
Yeah.
He's an adult.
Yeah, he is an
Yes.
adult, but
A younger
I'm
adult.
an old fart, so I think I think of him as
A younger adult.
So trying to figure out where I was struggling was figuring out the balance of which priority was more. And where I came out was I wasn't willing to nominate either of them or second either of them, but I wouldn't vote against either of them either. So that's where I stand on it. I'm very happy with the quality of the applicants we seem to be getting.
Can we give him, each of them, 2 years? No, I'm just
Well,
joking.
I like your creativity, however, no.
And
Unfortunately.
I also liked Cody. I liked his presentation. But I knew that Myra would be advocating for Michael. I expected Myra to be advocating for Michael. And so I was leaning towards Michael.
I can support that as well.
Okay.
I would love to encourage Cody to apply if there is another opportunity,
Absolutely.
because I think we would have appointed him
I know.
otherwise.
Yes.
Yep. He was a terrific interview, great interest and background in recreation, just a great candidate. I wish we had two positions.
I do too. Did you make
So,
a motion?
Can we
Cody,
do
if
that?
you're
Can we
listening,
make two positions?
apply again. No, we cannot make two motions. We have
Two
one seat.
positions.
We
I would like
cannot.
to make a motion to nominate Mike Watkins to Beach Park and Recreation.
I'll second. Please vote.
Okay, and with the motion made by Councilmember Espinosa to appoint Michael Watkins to the full 4-year term on the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission to expire May 2029, seconded by Mayor Beckmeyer, passes unanimously.
Okay. Well, that concludes our meeting for this evening. I would like to note that no one had to make a motion for the meeting to be extended. I would also like to declare the meeting is adjourned at 10:50 p.m., just like other cities.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
And happy birthday, Michelle.
You are welcome. I wasn't trying to put you on.